It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 109 of Power Bombshells. I am Sam, that is Mel. We are just two broads talking about the wrestling that we watch, and we are also being festive and celebrating St. Patrick's Day. As you can see, we already had some comments over here. Brad originally predicted that you were going to wear a big hat with a giant feather, and Nikki correctly predicted something with a almost correctly.
No, there. I mean, I don't know if there's. Do the Hello Kitties here? Man, like
looks like they're just green bows, but
green bows. Yeah, I don't think
enough.
There was one that had a bunch of shamrocks on it, which ironically a friend of mine wore at the pub yesterday, and it was cute because I was like, I almost bought that one, but I had to buy the Hello Kitty ones because
they're so cute.
Like the weebier the better. That's what can I say. I am what I am, and like I said, our love of all things Japanese. I was like, Sam will love this one. I was this will be way cooler than the other one, and more perfect for our thing. Because I mean,
yeah. And I wasn't necessarily planning on wearing the Kyle O'Reilly shirt because of St. Patrick's Day. I was going to wear it last weekend, but I decided to wear the Sunny shirt instead. So I was like, well, I'll just save it for next week. And then a few days ago, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, Sunday is St. Patrick's Day. And it ended up being the day after Kyle's first match back in almost 2 years. So I was like, it just all the time is perfect. And you cannot see them, but I do have very festive leggings on. They have green lips and shamrocks on them, and they say because I'm Irish. So I do have those.
That's excellent. See, yeah, I wore my crazy pants yesterday, and we hung out with all our pals over at the StarCraft there, and
nice.
They have, I mean, that's so cool because it's all like mostly members. I mean, a lot of cool people come in and we're like, hi, welcome to our giant family here. It's like, so like hung out there, and they had a DJ, and it was a ton of fun. And it's way more fun than doing like the amateur hour stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of people that just hanging out that know each other. It's actually more Irishy.
True. I actually have a friend who is in Ireland right now. She's like she's getting into being a travel agent. Like she has a day job, but she's slowly building a travel business, and she is currently in Ireland. She's been there for a few days. Like she was there, I guess, with like other travel agents, and they were getting to tour different places. And then her husband flew in, I think yesterday or the day before. And so I saw some of her stuff from this morning, and they had like a traditional Irish breakfast today. And then she went to, she did some other stuff. And then I saw a couple videos, and they were at the St. Patrick's Cathedral today. So I was like, I can imagine that's a lot of fun. So
I've been
enjoying watching her videos and her looking at her photos and stuff, and I was like, and she's drinking all kinds of stout and Jameson and Bailey's, and just she's doing it up. And I was like, well, she'll have very good information for her clients if they want, which would be, I was like, I need to see how much this Ireland deal is that she's got, because I want to go.
It is a great country. There is no bad place to go. It's, hey Colin, happy St. Patty's. But it's an amazing place. It was so much fun. We've only been once, but I could go back and still do stuff. We have our friends that they're headed over for their third time. And I was like, oh, wow. Are you guys doing baggage claim? Because I think I'll fit in a suitcase.
There you go.
It's like I have my passport.
It just goes a stowaway. It's fine.
So great. It's such a fun place. And there's like so many cool things to see, and so many there's no bad place to go really I'd stay out of the Midlands. I mean, you don't need to end up where you don't belong and all that stuff.
Sure.
End up in an Irish call out video or something. It'd be terrible. John showed us those years ago. That'll keep you laughing for hours. I'll show you that.
I can imagine.
Oh, so much fun. But yes, I'm glad there's so much cool stuff. So it'll be a fun time. That's what Jim Belly's wife does. She has a travel company. Yeah. At Best
nice.
at Best Trip Ever. Shameless plug for her.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen that before. I didn't realize that was her travel company. Very cool.
Yes, that's what she does. She does coordinating stuff. I was going to talk to her about our like if I want to go to All In, I want to do a little bit of extra stuff because I want to stop, obviously, go to Ireland and then go to England because it's so close.
Yeah, right. Definitely, yeah. Might as well make a big trip out of it.
That's why Jim gets to go on all those cool trips he gets to go on because he gets to tag along and be the test with her.
That's a pretty sweet gig.
Around it's not. He's like, I have the best life. They have a channel and they used to make travel videos for it. It was really
nice.
Cute. Just kind of like the little fun ones. And it's like it's kind of like when Bob and I travel, like if you get along with the person that you travel with, it's cool.
Yeah, right.
And then you meet a ton of awesome people as long as you're open to it. So
of course, yes, there is that.
And so yes, that has been the Travel Minute with Sam and Mel. It's the Irish Travel Minute. We'll have to check out Sam's friend's new travel company too.
I'll have to find out. I think she has a separate, because I have Facebook friends with her, of course. And it's funny, I met her through Brave's Twitter a few years ago, and then that's how we became friends. And then I met her. I was in Atlanta for, I think it was when we were down. So they used to do this thing called Social Media Night, and it was a bunch of us who were that's how we all knew each other, and we watched games together and stuff. And so we all just went, and we got to go, and there was like a special like section for us to go hang out and talk to people and stuff like that. And I think I can't remember if that's the first time that I met her, but yeah, that was like one of the ways that I met her was at the Braves thing. And so she actually just moved last year. She moved from West Virginia to Alaska. And she's been, her and her husband, like, because I think her husband got work out there, and that's how they ended up there. I'm not positive. They went there for their honeymoon, and I know they loved it. And so, like, they go and they chase the Northern Lights, and always post it. Like, she can see it from her front porch.
Yeah,
like, it's insane. And so I told her, I was like, I'm coming to stay with you, and she's like, come on. I was like, don't
everyone
tempt me,
I've ever
really
met from Alaska is just like, come hang out.
Yeah, like that's what she was like. She was like, come on. She was like, you can come see the Northern Lights from my front porch with me. And I was like, I'm probably going to take you up on that.
We always wanted to do that Alaska cruise and never got to it. So I think I would be better to land travel at this point. I'm a big. The newest True Detective also takes place in like a way up north.
Oh, you know what? I think I do. Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've heard about it.
Oh man, it's super like. I love that series anyway. And this particular 4 has been it was really good. They've all been good, but I have like a ranking system for them at this point.
Well, as you should.
But it's really cool because they use the landscapes of all the places that they pick really well. And that's just the kind of the backdrop is that it's the time of year when it's dark all the time.
Yeah.
So it's that period of time where it's like
and I was like, with that type of show that probably fits really well to do.
Oh yeah, and it just makes me. If you go up northern Michigan, up to like the Upper Peninsula and stuff, which we are planning on doing at some point, if you get the right timing, you can see them. So Bob lived up north for a while, and he could regularly see them. He's like, everyone around here is like, oh, you've never seen them? Like, shut up! I didn't go up north when I'm not from here. I'm the transplant.
Exactly. Leave me alone.
I'm learning. I'm new here. It'll work. We'll get up there, and then I'll tell you how awesome it is. Or we can do. You can just come.
Even better. Let's do that.
Yeah. Alaska, the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. It's all beautiful.
Yeah.
Lake Superior up there. It's like a big giant ocean, except it's a lake.
That's what I've heard.
Yep. It's crazy. It's a lot of lakes.
Was like, oh, and before we get too much further in this, I apologize ahead of time if I sneeze or start rubbing my eye. My allergies are really starting to kick in. I started early and started taking like just a single dose, like to kind of get it in my system. And then Friday I had to start doubling up. And then I went outside for a few minutes before the podcast, and my eye started itching a little bit. And I don't know. I had to get tested. God, it's been more than 10 years ago now, but God, probably like 15. But I developed allergies later in life. And then I found out that I was allergic to 3 kinds of grass. And I'm allergic to, and it's so bad, like the Bermuda grass. Like it's happened to me several times. I've been in Target walking along their aisle where they've had grass and started sneezing. Like that's how bad it is.
And then so much empathy for you, because Bob is probably sitting here. He's sitting in the other room going, I know exactly what she's. I think I joke with him because he did the allergy testing, the full battery like you did. Uh-huh. And I was like, I think it's better to just tell us what he's not allergic to. It's just easier.
I found out also that I'm allergic to cat dander. And I was working at a vet at the time. Oh, and this was the second vet that I had worked at. And because I was sneezing, like I was telling my doctor, I was like, I sneeze at work constantly and I sneeze at home. And I was like, the only time I really don't sneeze is when I'm in my car. And she was like, and so that's what we started to figure out. And I was like, I've had cats and dogs all my life. And she was like, sometimes you just develop it later in life. And so, Roman's dander is not as bad. I don't have an issue with him just as much, but with my last cat, she had really bad dander. And she used to like, sometimes could not pet her because I would start sneezing or my eyes would start itching. And sometimes some seasons it gets so bad that I have to wear my glasses. I can't wear my contacts because I will rub them out trying to like scratch my eyes. And so I have to wear glasses all the time, which then it doesn't help because then I'm constantly having to take my glasses off to like rub my eyes. So it was like, hopefully local honey does help. I have noticed has helped. It doesn't knock it out completely. And I was without local honey the last few weeks and I just went and got some. So hopefully the allergies will not be too bad, but I just wanted to apologize because I almost sneezed a few minutes ago and I was like, let me go ahead and apologize ahead of time because I can already tell that they might give me some problems today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, Benny. Hey, everybody who's showing up in the chats. It's good to see you. Yes,
and even if you're not in the chat, hello. Thank you for watching.
I'm so joining us.
You have had Travel Minute and now Allergy Minute.
Which, I mean, I know that there are plenty of you out there that also have seasonal allergies at least. Which, yes. I mean, I take an antihistamine and you were the one that reminded me to switch it up. I didn't think to link it up with daylight savings, but that's perfect. Is to switch my allergy medication, like switch back and forth every time.
When they said that that Puxatawny Phil saw his shadow and that we were going to get an early spring at like a week later, I was like, I need to start allergy medicine now.
It's not like there's been 3 days this month that it has been 70 degrees in Michigan.
Last Thursday
in March.
Yeah, last Thursday it was 78 degrees. But then Tuesday, the first day of spring, it will be 57. And actually, we're under a freeze warning tonight.
We are supposed to get snow showers or sun. I love Michigan. My favorite thing to do is I do this for my sister because the weather here is wild. And of course, the myth of climate crisis doesn't exist. But if it did, it would make it even wilder. And
yeah.
It's so funny because the emojis that have to pop up on my weather apps are hilarious for Michigan because it's like today's was the sun and a cloud that was snowing. And it's just like, and in the summer they get wilder because sometimes they'll throw in a tornado and it's and one year it was so hot in the summer, the humidity was so high that they kept putting a shirt on there. And the exclamation point in the warning.
Oh, right,
emoji.
Right. Yeah.
The triangle. And I was like, what is this? So finally I like looked at it and it was saying to wear like light colored clothing and stuff that's
to keep
cool like and all this stuff. I sent it to my sister, and it's now a running joke with us when the weather gets crazy here or too hot. I just send her a shirt with the exclamation point.
There you go.
It's just like, Michigan is such a, I have genuinely lived all over. I've lived on the East Coast, the West Coast,
Right.
all place, you know, in the mid-south region. This is the wildest weather.
Oh, I can imagine.
It sounds
hilarious
like here. Like, it's so silly. Like, it's you can't even explain it to somebody. It's too funny.
You have
like my friends just say I live in Silent Hill, which is hilarious. Because I also have the horn that you guys occasionally hear.
Yes, we do. Brad says Phil is like a 29% success rate. Why are we listening to that rodent? Well, this year I listened to him because it made me start my allergy medicine a little earlier. So that's the only reason. So
that's sort of still on my bucket list. I would love to go to that. I know it's kind of like totally nerdy, but I would love to go to that.
It would be see fun. It. Yeah, and I didn't think about it. They were like the stuff with Puxatawny Phil is like one of the oldest forms of divination. They're like, people don't realize, but that's technically what it is. It's a form of divination because you're looking for a shadow or not. And they're like, it's one of the oldest forms. And I was like, I've never thought about that before. And I was like, now that's what I'm going to think about.
I love that. That's hilarious. I usually don't, again, I don't pay attention because in my lifetime, I think he's seen.
Yeah, he's definitely, Brad is correct. He is probably only like 29%.
I think you're aiming high. I think you might be over on that. He is that. But but he's adorable and he has such a ceremony around him. And
yes,
thankfully that movie got made, which is an excellent movie also.
I haven't watched it in a really long time. I hated that movie. And I think it was because I hated it. But then I was like, I haven't watched. I was like, I think now watching it now, I would probably have a different response to it. I would probably.
The funniest thing about it is on, I believe, the same channel that Tony Khan is on there. I think it's TNT or TBS.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
On Groundhog Day, shows it over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Which makes it even more hilarious because...
Yes, because that's the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I
I thought about that actually recently. I was like, I probably should go back and rewatch it like now. I was like, I probably would have a different appreciation for it.
It holds up too. It's like a movie
I don't know why. I didn't like it. And then I was like, yeah, I bet watching it now, I would probably appreciate it a lot more.
You might have been the wrong age for it. I had that with a couple movies where I was like, when I first saw Falling Down, I was way younger and I didn't get it. And then I got older and like life happened.
Right.
And I went, wow, this movie makes a totally different kind of
that's what I think. I think I was the wrong age for it. And if I watched it now, I would be like, oh, I totally get it now.
I see it. I can't predict, but I think you'd enjoy it. I think you guys would have fun sitting down, kicking back and watching it.
Yeah, probably.
We even got in a movie minute for Daza there. So
there we go. Brad said he thinks Phil's success rate is higher than most local weather women and men. And the guys here though are hilarious because they just own the fact that there's no predicting the weather here, and it makes it funnier. My local weather guy that I listen to, his name is Dave Rexroth. Fantastic.
I'm not kidding you.
That's fantastic.
Perfect freaking
I was saying he couldn't have done anything else.
I call him Sexy Rexroth. Not that he is. I just think it's hilarious to say that. And I always refer to him as that when he says like what the weather is. But he is just straight up with you. He is like, this is what the European model says. This is what the Norway model says. This is what usually happens this time of year. You guys know that you need your battery radios and you know to keep it this. And it's like, he totally own it. It's hilarious. Like nobody tries to pretend that Michigan weather is predictable.
That sounds like one of our weather guys, Brad Panovich. He's very much he will not fall into like, you need to go to the grocery store and like buy bread and milk. Like he's very much like he'll tell you if it's at that point. But he's very
much the
much
bread and milk thing.
Yeah.
Didn't you tell me?
We've always had the bread and milk thing ever since I was a kid. Always bread and milk. And so he's very much like, and I think he has like, if I remember right, he has a graphic, and it's like, do you need to do this? And then like on the graphic is buy bread and milk, but it's like later down the graphic. But his other graphic he's been using this winter is it's a 1 dog in the bed night, it's a 2 dog in the bed night, or it's a 3 dog in the bed night to tell you how cold it is. It's by the number of dogs that should sleep with you to keep you warm. That's what he started using this winter. He's the best.
God bless local weather and news people. Like,
yeah, he's fantastic, and he'll tell you, he'll be like, all right, this is what it looks like, but this is not like, I mean, he's not a panic guy. He will just he tells you, then he's like, all right, now, but then that's when you can tell, like when it's serious, because then he's like, all right,
because he'll actually take a serious tone with you.
Yeah,
and it's like,
will.
If Sexy Rexroth is serious.
Right. That's the same thing. If Brad Panovich is serious, then it's going to pay attention to what he has to say.
Yeah. It's time.
He's the best.
I like that though. My favorite thing to do, the first thing I do when we go places, is to check out the local news. Either the 6 o'clock or or the morning news. The morning news will tell you all kinds of things you need to know about the local population.
They should, yes.
Even in Canada, that was my favorite thing. My favorite thing about being in Canada last year for Vindor was that it was a controversy on Canadian news that Taylor Swift wasn't coming.
I remember you telling me that, and then she ended up, I was like, can you let her release the rest of her tour? And then she did, and I was like, yes. I remember you telling me though that was like the big.
They were worried that they weren't cool enough for Taylor Swift. They literally that was the crux of what was going on there. Was hilarious. That they were like, do we not have enough world-class venues in the entirety of Canada for her?
Build the venues so Taylor will come. It's like Field of Dreams.
Awesome. It was so great.
Build the venues and she will come.
That's so wholesome and so Canadian.
Speaking of Canada and Canadians, Josiah was at Collision last night, and he said he bought tickets on Friday. Tickets would normally have been $180, and somehow he got them for $43. I was like $43 to see Danielson versus Shibata and Kyle O'Reilly versus Brian Keith is well worth the money. And he said he stayed for for ROH tapings too.
Sweet.
He said he had a lot of fun. He said,
I liked the Collision show, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm starting to like Collision the most during the weeks. I mean, I like Dynamite a lot, and I think Dynamite's doing pretty well right now. But I'm really enjoying Collision a lot. I like the pacing of it. I like the excitement of it. I like the promo cutting stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, and it makes it's like it is stressful at times to cover it live.
Mm-hmm.
But I've gotten more into a groove with it, and on Friday nights, like when I'm done with the SmackDown coverage, like I start on my coverage for Collision, like I start getting my stuff together, so it makes it a little bit more smooth. And it's not, I mean, some of it can be a little stressful, like the street match. The street fight last week was very stressful trying to write what was happening. I asked my editor, I was like, can I just write that shenanigans happened, because there's so much happening. He's like, listen, do what you gotta do. But so even last night during the tag match, but it was still the pacing is really, I like it a lot. But I was joking with him. Oh, I think I said this last week that sometimes I don't know submission moves, and I was telling him, and he was like, you need Taz. And I was like, yes, submission moves Jones is who I need. But they did a little bit better last night. Tony and Nigel did a little bit better last night with their submission move, telling me what submission moves were happening, and so it was a little bit better. But yeah, I really enjoy
the adjustments with the announcing team right now are going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, because apparently there's some legal implications potentially with Kevin Kelly. So
well, I mean,
that could be.
I would argue wrongful termination in this case potentially. I'm not saying that I don't know.
I mean,
I'm not saying he's going to win, because the bottom line is you can't go out and have your own opinions when you work for a company like that.
Well, you can't just trash people because you're not doing your job. But
He
also has to do his job, and he was not doing a great job at it. So, especially in the beginning, he was not very good at it. We talked about how he didn't seem to give a shit about AEW and what was happening in front of him, and it got so he also
Which was everybody's complaint about JR when he was doing announcing for New Japan. So it's like, wait a minute now. I mean, listen, JR's in a rough patch right now and whatever, but
sure, but
you
beyond
can't hold people to different. You can't hold them to different accounts.
You're correct. Yeah. And yeah, there's
standard.
A lot of times when JR should not have been on TV, and it had nothing to do with his health. It was just he was set in his ways, and didn't care about the product, and he was mispronouncing people's names and saying the wrong names, and then he would tell people to lighten up on Twitter when they called him out on it, and he relied on his name, and that's kind of what Kevin Kelly was doing. He was relying on the goodwill that he built up in New Japan, but then even Brad pointed out, like the last year, he was saying some kind of inappropriate stuff, and Chris Charlton was having to reel him back in. So it'll be interesting to see how. I mean, he probably could on his end file for it, but then if they could just be like, his work was not up to par.
Yeah, I don't know what the.
I don't know.
I mean, there's legal implications, so they're not commenting is basically what they're saying. And
so that's what I'm wondering. I was like, is this going to just end up being a suspension instead of him actually being fired? But I don't. He's that AEW is not saying fired, but I think Kevin Kelly is, his comment was no. There was a different comment last week. I forget what it was. So I think he's not even using that. So I was like, I wonder if this is just going to turn out with him being suspended.
Because Dave really had nothing, because they're just like clamped down on whatever the hell all is happening.
Yeah, which definitely sounds like.
I mean, when they won't say anything to him, it's like, they're
trying to clear. They're trying to make sure their legal stuff is probably covered. And so that's probably why they're being quiet. And they just kicked off their Canadian tour. So I was like, and they've got other things to deal with. Daza said, did the clocks go back over there? I'm late. They went back. Was it last weekend?
Oh, that's right. I forget that it's like 2 weeks off from this happens with John and I.
Weekend before, right? Was it 2 Sundays ago?
Yeah. So for 2 weeks, both times of the year that the daylight savings happens, we are actually 6 hours, not 5 hours apart.
Right. Daza said if we could reenact the last 30 minutes, he'd appreciate it. We had Travel Minute in Ireland. We've talked about St. Patrick's Day. We talked about my allergies.
Yeah.
And I apologize ahead of time if I sneeze or if I start rubbing my eye, because I went outside for like 30 seconds earlier and my eye's been bothering me ever since.
We covered the accuracy of Phil the Groundhog.
Yes,
which is
we did.
Very low. And
we talked about the weather people in Michigan and North Carolina. So yeah, clearly on this wrestling podcast.
Totally a wrestling podcast.
Yes.
Hey, it's our wrestling podcast, and I think those who know enjoy it. Collision is for wrestling sickos like us. Yes, Brad.
And speaking of wrestling sickos, as soon as Collision was done, well, then I had to write an article about the tag team tournament, and so then after that was done, I started Wrestling Revolver. It started earlier. It started, and so I watched that. Nikki and I watched it. It was really good.
Well, why don't you do a whole lot more? Like, you're just not doing enough, Sam.
Listen, I was thinking about it earlier. I have not watched 1 second of the New Japan Cup, and I was like,
me either.
I covered. I was like, it's partly because I cover. I was like, if I didn't have to cover WWE, I would probably be watching it. It's cutting into my New Japan time, but also it's the tournament and it's hard to get into. And so, and plus I have been kind of keeping up with it. Like, I know some of the stuff that's happening. And then I saw that David Finlay got sick and he had to withdraw from the tournament and he had to forfeit, I don't know if he withdrew from the tournament. He forfeited to his spot to Goto. But then I saw that he wasn't cleared to compete today, but I think it was like just a 6-man or something, and he was not cleared for that either. So I guess he forfeited the entire tournament because they're so late in the brackets. I'm sure
Not
somebody
sure
who watches
exactly.
I'm sure somebody can clarify that for us.
That's been keeping up more. I mean, I've been paying attention to the recaps.
Okay, it is a forfeit. Okay, thank you,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you, Vinkin.
So Goto automatically won, right? And then he forfeited the entire tournament, not just the match. Correct? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think that makes more sense.
Brad said, I watched the first night of New Japan Cup, and that's it for me. It's almost the point of giving up on New Japan right now. Their House of Torture BS has gotten to be too much. It has, but like we keep saying, the HOT stuff is not for Western fans.
It really isn't.
It's for the Japanese fans who enjoy it. But I mean, I know there are Japanese fans who do
struggling right now. Like they just lost everybody. I mean, they have to like
for
right, and he's sick. I mean, and that was where Gato was putting his like kind of like what he does when he like gets behind somebody, and it's unfortunate because I know what I'm going to do is go back because I know there's some good matches that I want to watch.
That's what I've heard, that there's some good matches, and like Vinkin just said, that Jack Perry is killing it, which is great. And
that's good. That's a good place for him to be anyway. Maybe he'll learn from being there because it's a different discipline and the culture is different. So maybe that's giving him some.
Brad, I've heard both that some Japanese fans hate House of Torture, but then I've heard that some fans love them and they sell T-shirts and they're buying tickets. So I guess at this point,
we need to get Justin Nipper back on this.
That's what they need. Yeah, I'm hearing, because I've seen what Brad is saying. I saw that actually this morning, that they were saying that some people hate it. Some of the Japanese fans don't like it either, but then some of them don't care or they don't hate it. So I was like, it's I don't know what they're doing. And they're in a really interesting situation. Like, I'm going to try to give them a little more grace just because they lost Ospreay, Okada, Tama Tonga. Finlay has got something going on. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I haven't heard. I just heard he went to the hospital and couldn't compete. That's all I've heard. I don't know if it's something serious, if it's just some kind of a illness, or if there's something. So hopefully it gets better, and hopefully they stop relying on House of Torture so much. I did hear that there was
frustrating because it's like you've got Zack Sabre Jr. still, you've got Shingo Takagi to put into a different position. You've got Yoto Tsuji, and so what was
be
that
nice.
But I mean,
because at first I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, and then I saw the LOL and I was like, there we go. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
This could be it. Brad said that Finlay is suffering from WWE contractitis.
Oh, shoot. I've heard that's going around, Brad.
That's literally just about to say, I've heard that's going around.
Seems to be no cure for vaccination for that, actually. The amount of talent that's shifting around in the wrestling sphere right now is ridiculous.
I know.
I mean,
and then I was like, I can understand now, like, why you have like Mustafa and GYV who are just wrestling everywhere. I mean, I know because they were tied down to WWE for a while, and they're just like, we're not signing any contract. Well, I take that back. Mustafa has signed some sort of a deal with Impact because he's scheduled to be there for a few months and he's a champion. But they're all just like, I'm not being tied down. I'm going to wrestle everywhere. I'm going to win titles. I'm going to go back and forth between the UK and the US. Maybe I'll show up in Japan. Like, good for them. Like, it's crazy.
It's the way to go right now. Because
it is.
Everything's shifting, and
especially with the economy in Japan. It's so
that right there is not
great. Well, even the UK are also in a recession as well.
But they've been having, I mean, I'm pretty sure, Daza would be able to obviously tell me, but I'm pretty sure that there were shortages and stuff going on in the UK. And I'm like, there's shortages here. So the supply chain is messed up right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if the US economy was having one. I mean, they're trying to pretend that the US economy is doing better because it's election year, but.
Well, of course. Of course. But yeah, I mean, so
it's for so the people awesome. I love it.
For the people who can go wherever and get paid, then like I'm off. And it's fun to watch and do watch all their things they're doing. I still am hoping that Mustafa is going to be in BOSJ. I really, really hope that that's going to happen. I don't know if that's just
a little bit.
It might just be wishful thinking on my part, but I really want it to happen.
That would be fun. It would be cool to see him there. I think that, I mean, again, they have a lot of good young talent there that they can build up. So, but I mean, Nigel's a big deal too. So that's awesome. And I guess Sonata, I don't know, whatever.
I know the fans love him too. I mean, he was definitely very over with the Japanese crowd last year when he was champion. Apparently, he was selling merch. And again,
I'm glad for him because I wanted
whatever
to see
gets
that.
those fans in the seats, then they've got to keep doing it regardless of whether we like it or not. If it's selling tickets and moving merch, then they've got to do.
Well, they're desperate. I mean,
they got to do.
They've got to keep their company running. Like, that's a struggle.
It is a struggle. To me, I would not rely on HOT for that, but and they might be. It sounds like if the Japanese fans are starting to get tired of it, then Gato's gonna have to switch. He's gonna have to switch his plan up and try something else. But yeah, I think Zach has to. I think at some point, probably sooner rather than later, Zach is gonna have to be champion. But then that makes me curious. Then, so do they do it, Windy City Riot? Did they have Naito lose to John Moxley and have John Moxley be champion for a little bit? He's got a card. He can live in Japan. So do they do that and use Moxley as like kind of a bridge to get people excited and paying attention again, and then have him lose to Zack Sabre Jr.? I was like, that's one way to handle it, but I don't know.
That would be actually kind of fun, and that might rev people up. I don't know if bringing Moxley in would be a big deal or not, like, necessarily, but I mean, he is a big draw over there, and Jericho's still a draw over there too. So I mean,
send Jericho to Japan.
I think that we should send Jericho over to infuse some excitement over there, because the Painmaker, he's spitting on my microphone, is very over. But you know, in that way, he's really, 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 really far away from Hook. Really far.
I hate.
Like on the other side of the planet.
That's probably the second most thing that I hate in that company.
It's
the thing I hate. I hate the Saraya stuff more than anything. That's the thing that I hate the most.
That's now so WWE. I can't even.
Yes, now the shit with her violent boyfriend. I mean, her violent brother. I'm like, so you want your best friend to be with your potentially abusive brother? What the fuck is happening? I hate that story with a passion. Like, the more I see it on my TV, the more I hate it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then Jericho with Hook is like right underneath that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that's because that story is the worst. It is so like WWE echoey.
Well, which is why I can understand probably that's what Saraya is comfortable with. However,
I get it, but that stuff is like
that's weird. This is AEW. This is a completely different company. But and then you're going in, like, I already hated this. Like, I never enjoyed the storyline because it was Ruby can't win a match because she's distracted by a man. Like, but Ange could win his match. He was not distracted by Ruby, but he could win his match. Like, I don't mind the relationship stuff. Like, if that's what they do want to do, fine. But to dumb Ruby down to the point where she can't win a match because she's distracted by a man bringing her flowers in the middle of her match. What are we doing here? And then it just has progressively gotten worse.
What century is it? It's mind-blowing. I hope that this Mercedes being here infuses some like difference into the situation, because I mean,
hey, like, remember when Saraya said that she was going to bring a revolution to women's wrestling, and it's this shit? That's the revolution you're talking about? No, thank you.
There's nothing revolutionary about doing the same crap you were doing in WWE.
Yeah,
like, that's not a revolution. That's this. It's status quo.
The same thing in a different format, and it's bringing down.
Tony's all running around like, we're trying to bring the magic back. You just signed Will Ospreay, for Pete's sake, and now you're doing stuff like that on your show.
Yeah, and like, Zach was okay down in Ring of Honor. I mean, he didn't have a character. He had some solid matches. I mean, I just didn't really care one way or another. But I mean, his matches were solid, which was fine. But a violent person. I mean, I guess they're trying to make him look like he's scary and he's violent, unpredictable, but they're making it look like he is an abusive partner, which is not a look you want to have. Especially if you consider some of the stuff that Soraya's real life partner and the things that he says and does, which we've talked about many times on here. And I was like, this is just none of it's a good look. I hate all of it. And then I know poor Harley Cameron, they have nothing to do for her to do. So she got stuck in QTV. Now she's stuck in this. She's never once wrestled in AEW programming. She's never wrestled in ROH. She's just there, and she does the best with what she can for what she's given, but it's just I hate it with a passion. Like this
isn't what I meant when I wanted to see more of the women on the freaking TV. This is not what I meant.
No,
there's so many other talents right now on their roster that need TV time, and they brought him up from ROH to do this BS.
And he was only on ROH, like he had maybe 5 matches.
It's not very inspiring. I don't know.
There are other people from ROH that I would rather have on my TV, and he's not one of them.
How about Athena?
That's not allowed. Athena
I know.
is trapped in the. She is trapped in the. There's a
behind
barrier.
A paywall.
There's some kind of like magical barrier called Honor Club that does not allow her.
It makes you think. So it's like he clearly understands her value because he won't show her on the AEW televisions for that exact reason. That's definitely a business move. It has to be
right, and they are sending. However, even though she cannot cross magical barrier, Shida can, because Shida is going to cross the magical barrier to wrestle her at Supercard of Honor, and that is supposed to be the main event. So Athena will be main eventing 3 consecutive pay-per-views, which is exciting. And awesome. Her and Shida are going to, I mean, you can argue that there is no storyline there. However, you can also argue the storyline is who's better, which is always a great idea for a match. And she calls herself the American Joshi. Shida is an actual Joshi, so there's that too. Like, the match is going to be great. And I'm looking forward to it. And then we finally have a second match has been added. Eddie Kingston, who has still yet to appear in person on Honor Club in January. He was in a promo right after he won the Continental Championship, and then he had a promo last week where he challenged Mark Briscoe, who has not been in Ring of Honor since January. He's giving him Mark Briscoe was supposed to have the title shot last year against Claudio Castagnoli. He got injured, and he's had a few matches down there since then. But because this is in Philly, which is where ROH started. Right. They're doing this, and it's 11 years to the day since Jay Briscoe won the world title from Kevin Steen. So that's the story. Mark Briscoe is clear. So I don't know apparently they're just going to do away with the Continental title, because I'm assuming Okada wins on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And then Mark Briscoe wins the ROH championship at Supercard, and then he'll just have the New Japan Strong title until they figure out what the hell they're doing with that title. So it sounds like they're doing away with Continental Crown is what it looks like. So it's interesting.
Probably because it looks like they're doing that New Japan Academy thing. I don't know if you saw any stills.
Well, I know that they've been did the dojo stuff.
And I know that there was the dojo documentary series that I never got to, that I need to.
Yeah, I never did.
John was on me to get, but I need to.
Oh, you know what? I think I have seen it because Bad Dude Tito is doing stuff with it.
Yes, he is headlining something.
Yeah,
he is main eventing against somebody.
Yeah,
that's why I remembered it.
Yeah, he's posted in his Insta story a few times, and I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but I knew that he was involved, and then. Because he signed with MLW too, because he's working. Last week he got announced that Selena De La Renta is one of the the TV managers over at MLW, and she signed him to a contract. So I think he's officially signed with them now. Which was like, they keep signing people I like, but then they have Matt Riddle. Cannot escape him. You can't escape him. It's like when I was like, it's like when at the beginning when I tried to get into Lucha Underground because I didn't really have access to a lot of it. And I started watching it late and Alberto Del Rio was on it. I was like, oh my God, I can't escape him. And now that's how it is with Matt Riddle. I can't escape him.
He won't go away.
He won't. I haven't watched MLW in a while, but I'm interested. There's people there that I like Kojima is the champion. They bring in Suzuki. They have Mance Warner is there on and off. They've got now they have Bad Dude Tito. Like they bring in people I like, but then they push Matt Riddle, and I don't want to see that. And I'm like, I have other things that I could devote my time to, other wrestling I could watch that doesn't include him. So I'm like,
you have a lot of extra wrestling right now because of your coverage of the other things. So
yes,
these guys are talking.
The CTU tournament was great, but the Continental title was dumb. They should have just treated it like the O and made it an actual title. I don't mind Eddie Kingston having I don't mind him getting his Triple Crown dream that he wanted like that. I don't have an issue with, and he did defend it in AEW and New Japan, but it seems like they booked themselves into a corner. And so now, like, I don't know why you wouldn't just put all 3 titles on Okada. Of course, Okada is never going to Honor Club, but that's okay. Most of their champions, except Athena, never go down there anyway. Because
he can defend it on. He can lose it on TV. He can lose it on Collision or something,
right?
And it'll go back to the ROH, and it'll be fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah,
and then he'll.
I tweeted on. So thank God, the Bang Bang Gang turned on. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass. Thank God that's over because it didn't work.
Thank God.
I was like, now you are free to come to Honor Club.
Yeah. Now you can come defend your belts that you've got.
Yes. I made so Thursday. Lance Archer wrestled on Thursday, and he's wrestled on ROH here and there. So he wrestled, and Jake Roberts with him, and they were saying he was making his Honor Club debut, and I tweeted that Jake Roberts was on Honor Club before the 6-man champions were. By the way, Supercard of Honor is in 4 weeks. There's 2 matches.
Oh man,
probably a third one, but the 6-man titles, I guess they're like, oh yeah, we have to we gotta book. I'm like, just have them drop it so that Jake can stay.
Something.
Just have them drop it. So I thought, and another reason I thought they broke up when they did, I thought they were going to do the Acclaimed versus the Guns and the tag team tournament, and neither team is in the tournament.
Nope.
And while we're speaking about that tournament, I'm very sad I'm sad anyway that Anthony Henry is hurt. But then to find out that they were supposed to be in that tournament and they were big things planned for them, it hurt my heart so bad because
I know when I saw that I was so sad. I was like, no,
I wanted that I've been wanting this for them for so long. So I'm like, hopefully they'll get some when he comes back. He tweeted on Friday, he did have the procedure where they have to he didn't have to have surgery. They put in some like rubber, it looks like metal and rubber, and he has to wear those. I think he has to have that he's supposed to be out. The procedure is supposed to take eight weeks, or like not the procedure itself. The procedure is done, but like his recovery time, I guess, is 8 weeks. But then I'm sure he's got I don't know how active he can be as far as working out and things like that, and time it takes to build himself back up. So I don't know if he'll just be out the 8 weeks or if it's going to be a little bit longer. Hopefully the recovery is smooth and there's no setbacks, but the timing is terrible and I hate that for him. And I heard though that the match, because he was wrestling Brian Keith at DPW for the title when it happened, and I heard the match was incredible, so I was like, well, at least there's that. At least it was a really good match. And he actually tweeted and said that he doesn't even really know Mustafa, but Mustafa was the first person to check on him and make sure he was okay. And he was like, that was really, he didn't have to do that. And I was like, well, that's really cool to hear. And I was like, we've always heard that Mustafa is a great guy, and so I was glad to hear that. But I am very excited though that the infantry got to be in the tournament and they got the upset.
I was so excited because when I saw that matchup, I was like, oh man, the infantry is not going to be in the title in the tournament. It bummed me out. Legitimately, I am so on to those guys right now.
Yeah, yes.
I am like, plus I'm like, plus Trisador is in the infantry. I was all excited.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, when that happened, I was just like, yeah, man, I just didn't think they were gonna get in. I'm so
I
excited.
wasn't sure. I was like,
I
oh,
am
they're
so
gonna be
excited. It's gonna be
I was
so
like, they're gonna be one of
cool.
those tournaments that we just get the match and then that's it. And then in the quarterfinals they wrestle FTR, and I was like, oh my god, if they somehow knock FTR out of this tournament, that's gonna be, those dudes are gonna be made.
Imagine, that would be so cool. After FTR just lost at the pay-per-view, maybe their story right now is that they're on a like super losing skid.
Maybe.
I
guess
mean,
so.
one of those members of that team is still in legal trouble in his shoot life. So,
yep, he
just
sure is.
saying.
He's got court dates
Just
soon.
saying.
In a few weeks, next month, something. I don't know. And he was ordered. He has to be in court. They said that because he didn't go to he was not at his lawyer represented him, but they told him that when that trial happens or whatever that next court date is,
yeah, because he has to appear before the judge in some
I don't
form
know.
or fashion.
So I was like, well, then why even put them in the tournament? But who knows?
Maybe, maybe this is good. Maybe they'll get them over. That's a good way to get them over.
I'm hoping to see, and that's why I'm wondering if that
FTR's out of the tournament in case he has to deal with the stuff, and he doesn't want it. I mean, to his credit, he doesn't want it coming back on his partner, so that's fine.
True,
but
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
and so that'll be
nice.
So now I'm curious because the Undisputed Kingdom is in this tournament as well. They are the current ROH tag team champions. So I was like, why are they in this? But I don't know if they got put in because that's where the Workhorsemen were supposed to be. And so they're like, we'll just put you, because it looks like the infantry was already in because they had that little vignette air the week before.
Mm-hmm.
And this was prior to Anthony Henry's injury. So I think the infantry was in it regardless. And then then obviously the other wild card team, I guess, would have been the Workhorsemen. So now I'm wondering, last night I was like, well, is that why Undisputed is in it? Because they're the ROH tag team champions. Like, why would they be in the AEW tag team tournament? And then I was like, unless they're the Workhorsemen's replacement. Because this happened last Sunday and the tournament started last night. So they had to hurry. They had to scramble and put a team in there. So I'm curious to see how that, I am glad to see some other tag teams getting the thing and getting some spotlight. We'll get some fresh matchups. I do like that the Young Bucks are wrestling Private Party 4 years after Private Party got the upset win. So the long-term storytelling, I guess. It's I assume the Young Bucks are getting their win back here. I would love Private, but maybe Private Party's surprise. Maybe they upset. Oh man, upsetting the EVPs would be hilarious.
It would be. I don't know.
I hope that's what they're doing. I don't think they are. I think the Young Bucks beat them and get their win back. But I was like, on the other hand, having Private Party beat them year one and then beat them as the EVPs would be hilarious.
That would be kind of funny.
I would love it, but I
wouldn't even put it past them at this point. And then like getting eliminated from the tournament and then wreaking havoc all over it for the whole time. But yes. I'd rather see them in it. Let's be real.
Yes.
We'll see. I know it's like the worst thing ever that them and Okada are doing this to some people, but apparently. I love it. I think it's great.
I do too. I think it's hilarious.
I'm so excited because I love heel Okada.
He's so fun. And then even that little bit we got of Okada and Eddie Kingston, I was like, why do you not want that? Couldn't be me. I want this matchup. This match is fun. Look at what I was like, Eddie Kingston versus Okada is a good match. What are you people talking about?
That's amazing.
You want to hate, that's on you. Enjoy what you enjoy and like what you don't like, but I will enjoy this match.
I will very much enjoy that.
I will enjoy it.
Well, and Eddie Kingston will definitely be into the match.
Can you imagine? And it's under Continental rules, which means no Young Bucks, no Pac, and no Penta. They cannot interfere. Nope, no shenanigans. They cannot. They can't be there. So Okada.
Eddie's gonna have to like bring it. He's gonna have to bring his A games.
And we have seen him lately when especially in the Continental Classic, when he has to bring it, he does.
He's finally getting to wrestle people he never would have gotten to wrestle in a million years if this company hadn't existed.
Yeah.
Like, I can't, his heroes, like the whole stuff with him going to Japan, like all of it. It's nice
and the
to
Triple
see.
Crown, and getting his version of the Triple Crown, which is why I don't have an issue with it. And I knew as soon as they made that tournament, I was like, oh, this is going on Kingston. This is for him. This whole thing is for him, and I am fine with that. Which is why I'm like, it's March and now it's falling apart. Now they're undoing it, but I think it's because they booked themselves into a corner and they gotta. So I guess that's why, but
yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Eddie Kingston beats Okada on Wednesday. Maybe he beats Mark Briscoe at Supercard. But the way they were talking about Supercard, I was like, yeah, Mark Briscoe's finally getting this title, which he deserves. Like, I don't have an issue with it, but I was like, I would just wish Eddie Kingston had been. I was like, at least I think Mark Briscoe, but see, now Mark Briscoe's involved in this House of Black story. So I'm like, is he gonna be on our club when he wins this title? Or is he too busy in this story? Quit putting it on people who spend a majority of their time in AEW. Put it on people who are in Ring of Honor and then build story, just like you do with Athena. Just replicate that.
Yeah, do it with everybody else. So that you can make that into a thing, so that there's no
storylines down there. They keep doing these four corner survival matches, but then it's not like the winner gets a shot at the champion because the champion's nowhere to be found.
Right.
It's just their matches just to be matches. And I know some of it they're getting repetitions, and like I love Jack Cartwheel and I get to see him a lot, and he's down there, and like there's there's been like I enjoy the matches, but they lead to nothing. They're just matches. And Brad's
you're never going to sell a service and a product if it doesn't have any substance to it. And then the belts are.
And then Athena is the substance. And they are, I mean, I will give them credit. They are doing the ROH television tournament for the women.
Yeah.
They have made some questionable choices with that, but the matches have been pretty solid. The final, they're getting down to the semifinals, and the matches are going to be, the last two matches are going to be, well, not last two. These tournament matches are going to be really good. And they still have not said, but I assume the winner is getting crowned at Supercard of Honor, but they still have not said that. So I guess we'll find out in a week or two. And yes, and Brad is correct that the only person I understand not showing up is Kyle Fletcher because he had visa issues, but he's already back and Ethan Page wants him. I assume we're getting that match. And I would put the title on Ethan. Ethan is down there. He's
awesome.
Putting in the work. And I love Kyle Fletcher, but he is busy and he's in this tournament. Him and Powerhouse Hobbs are part of the Don Callis family.
Right.
So I was like, I love ROH, but it drives me insane.
Yeah,
It drives me.
Well,
I feel like every other
we've had this discussion before, but they shouldn't be having the ROH belts on the AEW television. They have enough AEW belts on the AEW television.
If it's here and there, I don't mind it. But when it's a majority,
but it's perpetual. I mean, Adam Cole and MJF. I mean, MJF specifically.
No, they should have dropped those titles then.
He carried it for like months last year. Mm-hmm. I mean,
and they're doing the same thing. Like the Undisputed Kingdom did come down in January. They defended their titles once, had 2 proven ground matches, which they won in like 2 minutes, and then they haven't been on there since. And now they're in the AEW Tag Team Tournament, which is why I assume they were the replacements for the Workhorsemen.
Yeah, that seems to make some kind of sense, I guess.
Yeah, it's
weird. I don't know.
It's weird. And we spent, so it's insane.
That's okay.
But
that's all right.
And yes, and as Eddie asked, he got here like, no, we haven't covered the WWE drama. We just kind of started going off on tangents, and then it led to other tangents and led to other tangents. So.
Yeah, you guys haven't missed anything. We were
just talking about the tournament, and
We got off on the tournament, which we didn't even see. We talked,
which
about
wasn't even on our thing, but
I was like, oops, that's
the
not on
tournament.
our notes.
Yes.
Well, you guys wanted to hear about what we thought about the tournament, though, so it's all good.
Exactly. We have things to talk about, and I will say clearly because I have my shirt on, but I'm very excited to see Kyle O'Reilly back. I thought he looked great. He got a nice big pop when he came out, and Brian Keith, Brian Keith is fun too. And it's actually funny because Mikey Ruckus said he made 5 new entrance themes this week, and 2 of them were for Brian Keith. One is a baby face theme and one is a heel theme.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, look at him with his 2 different things. But I thought the match was the match was great. Kyle looked great. Brian Keith nearly got him a couple times, and I was like, oh, which was cool because Kyle was like, I haven't wrestled. I don't know if I can still do this. And Brian Keith I've watched him and he's really good. And then they did afterwards, they showed it was a promo that aired on AEW's Twitter, or probably all of their social media. But Kyle is reflecting on the match and he didn't know if he could still do it. And then Shibata walks over to him and just kind of nods at him and shakes his hand. And I hope that means that we are getting Shibata versus Kyle O'Reilly, because I want the kicks. And that's when I said yesterday, actually I tweeted yesterday, I was like, when Anthony Henry is healthy, I want Anthony versus Kyle O'Reilly just for the stiff kicks. That's all I want.
Yeah.
I just want them to kick each other because they both kick so hard. And I was like, that's all I want.
All I want in the world are tough, hard kicks.
I am a simple woman at times. I just want to see people kick each other.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's
sometimes I like all of the, I get all, like the other Friday Rampage. I got 2 destroyers in one match. I got a destroyer last night on Wrestling Revolver. There was a woman did a destroyer.
Ooh.
And I got that. And so I was like, sometimes I just want the destroyers. Sometimes I just want people to beat the shit out of each other. Yeah. Sometimes I don't need a story. Sometimes I just want people to kick each other really hard.
Sometimes the matches are the story. And I think that people need to remember that that in New Japan, they don't have big storylines. But there's plenty of story in what goes on in New Japan. And I mean,
like you said, they tell the story in the ring.
The stories are the matches between these 2 wrestlers and their interactions with each other and how the match goes and who gets involved potentially or not and what kinds of things go down. They don't have big shenanigans. And I mean, they have shenanigans in New Japan, obviously, the ref bump capital of the universe, but it's like it's more like sport than, but they so the stories are like this guy beat this guy and then this guy beat this guy and now they're like even and somebody needs to win that 3rd match to put their, to make themselves the dominant. Right. And that's the story.
Well, and then sometimes the story is the best of 7 series between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. Sometimes that's the story. Which tag team is the best? Let's have 7 matches to figure it out.
Find out.
They just did this in TNA. They did GYV versus ABC, and they had a best of 3 series, and ABC won them all. The matches
the same great. People that are complaining that wrestling's not like it used to be. It's like, guys, Bruno Sammartino was the champion for 100 years. He never lost it. I mean, I'm a little hyperbolic, but not much.
I was gonna say not by far.
So having 7 matches should be right in your wheelhouses.
But I'm not gonna especially a lot of some indie shows do have they are getting more the story in the big story in GCW right now is Mance versus Effie. Mance is a heel now. He turned on Effie. That's there, and now he's turned on SGC. He's turned on LA Catch. So that's his story, and he's trying to get he wants the GCW championship. That's his whole mission, and he tried to still. Effie won a match to get a shot at the title, and he cost him that shot. And so this has been a feud that's been going on since December. Well, then last night, and he's still, Mance Warner's still a babyface in Wrestling Revolver, but last night he turned on Manders, which is who his SGC. So now the story is starting to cross over to another wrestling promotion, which is really interesting that they're doing that, but I don't mind it. I think it'll be fun. I really like Mance as I turned out to be. I mean, he's an incredible babyface, but he's turned out to be a really good heel. So like there are some storylines in this indie stuff, but then some indie stuff is just like, especially like look at the Collective. These are not storylines.
No,
they're
just matches.
They're just awesome matches that I want to see.
Bloodsport is awesome matches.
Exactly. I mean, I guess the story this year is they're allowing some WWE people into it, which will be interesting. Good for Shayna Baszler. Shayna trained with Josh Barnett, and he has wanted her for a while. And from what I read yesterday, he personally called and asked for her. And so there's supposedly multiple people, and so my friend said he hopes it's Gunther. And then I said that it should be Gunther versus Shayna.
Oh, man.
That would be fun.
That'd be weird.
But then Masha Slamovich has also said that she wants Shayna, which I would also be down for that too. So
great.
Like those are just cool matches that have no storyline. I don't care. I want to see them just beat each other up.
Good wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
Good pro wrestling.
Yes. Effie for GCW champ. Yes. I will take Effie or Mance as champion because I love them both, but definitely I would love to see Effie as GCW champion. I love that guy. Vetkin said she should have Minoru Suzuki.
Ooh.
Shayna versus Suzuki. That would be awesome.
That's fun. I'm into that.
I would take that. But yes. So I suppose we should actually get to our listings. Well, we did cover Bloodsport. That was on here. WWE was allowing. So we just covered that. So there we go. We can check that off of our list like it's a women's match.
And also someone mentioned that in the chat as well. So yep. Yeah. We covered that. It's very good. It's very nice. Thank you. Yay.
So we will get to because Eddie asked if we had gotten to the WWE stuff. We had not. We'll do that now.
Let's do that now.
We're an hour in. Why not? Let's go with the topic we
do that now. Let's get that done.
If you missed it, earlier this week, a report came out that was, and first of all, this report came out by 3 of the top people covering this lawsuit. Tim Marchman, John Pollock, and Brandon Thurston all came together to put this information out via Front Office Sports. And so back in January, when Janel Grant's lawsuit was filed, there were 4 corporate officers who were not identified in the lawsuit. However, based upon independent investigation, these 3 folks were able to figure out their identity. And then Ann Callis, who is Janel Grant's lawyer, confirmed that, yes, these are the 4 people who are in the lawsuit. And so corporate officer number 1 is WWE president Nick Khan, WWE COO Brad. I don't know if it's Brad Bloom or Blum. It's Blum. So I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I feel like people have been saying it Blum, but who knows?
Okay, that's what I thought. I assumed it was Blum and not Bloom. But Brad Blum was revealed as corporate officer number 2. The other corporate officers are Stephanie McMahon, and former head of WWE's legal department, Brian Nurse, is corporate officer number 4. So these are people very high up who, and I will, in case you missed the article, I will make this very clear right this minute. They are not accused of sexual misconduct. But all 4 of them were aware of something going on. To what extent has yet to be disclosed. They need to do some sort of an investigation, find out who knew what when, and these 4 are probably not the only 4 who knew something.
Definitely not, but especially considering who they are. And
yes,
the fact that they would have had assistance and
right. So
things.
Nick Khan and Brad Blum are both they are both believed to have helped facilitate this cover up and to facilitate to make sure that to hide these things, and then to make sure that it went kind of undetected amongst other people in the office. So their hands are dirty. They have definitely.
They literally asked if Janel was trustworthy. They were like, it's horrible. I read the Observer this week specifically for this stuff because what Dave did, which was kind of sort of like to frame it, he essentially plugged the names into the lawsuit sections.
Yes, and that's what was in the front office sports did the same thing, and then I kind of tried to do it myself when I covered it to kind of paint the picture and with what we now know.
It's ugly.
Yeah,
when
so I will
you put the names in context and you see these conversations, like it's a very lawsuits are sterile. They're very legal language. This when you put people's names in there and you like reevaluate what they were doing in there, clear, blatant awareness.
Sure.
They didn't the depravity or whatever else, whether they knew it was like that, no, but they knew Vince was keeping a girlfriend in the office as an employee. Like they knew.
Yeah, in front office sports, they reiterated the actions of Khan and Blum make WWE liable under federal anti-trafficking laws.
Yeah, I was gonna say they would be co-conspirators for trafficking because this was because of the things that they did with her across state lines.
Yes.
There's
this is extremely serious.
Those are the two. The trafficking because they're cracking down on it in the ways that they are,
finally,
or the money, which I still think that he will face something for the money because you never get away with the money. That's public money, and I just don't buy. It's the one thing I think that, if nothing else, I mean, I hate it that it's going to come down to it. They got away with everything else, but they're getting slapped with it.
Right. That's general. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of these things happen. But and they also, so of course, and before we go any further, I do want to say WWE, of course, released a statement that says WWE takes Ms. Grant's allegations very seriously and has no tolerance for any physical abuse or unwanted physical contact. Neither Nick Khan nor Brad Blum, prior to the lawsuit being filed on January 25th, 2024, were aware of any allegation by Ms. Grant that she was the victim of abuse or unwanted physical contact, nor does the complaint allege that either had knowledge of such. So, of course, but Stephanie McMahon did not respond to a comment, and neither did Brian Nurse. He also did not respond.
And he's like dropped off the map when he quit. He disappeared.
Well, and that's what the front office sports article said, that WWE would not comment on like why he left or like any type of like if he was compensated or anything like that to leave, like none of that. WWE will not comment on him, which is very interesting. And I think that's something to keep in mind as the story
he would have worked directly under him in his department.
Yes, he is the one who, let me make sure that I'm getting this information correct. Let me go down here. Nurse off. That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So Nurse offered. So he's corporate officer number 4. Brian Nurse offered Grant a job in 2019, although she says she was never onboarded or given clear duties. In the lawsuit, Grant says that Nurse was cold to her but warm to everybody else in the department, and other people they noticed his demeanor towards her. And the suit also says that Nurse told at least one executive that he suspected a sexual relationship between Grant and Vince.
There you go. Yep. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And it's gross.
Yeah. And I
these
feel
people
like
are like still, I mean, Tony, excuse me. Let me get that right so that I don't screw that up because it's important. Nick Khan is the freaking president of WWE still.
Yes.
That's just truth. And he did all this while he was negotiating a deal with another company entirely for, I mean, God, Carney's gonna Carney, man. Like TKO, it should be, their stock should have been like CRNY or something. It's just,
I feel like I know that but this is what WWE does. It's a very just overload, but I feel like not enough people are talking about the fact that the president of WWE
currently
and the current COO both covered it up. They are both heavily involved in this.
Potentially it could be implicated, like you said, as co-conspirators.
And an anti-trafficking law. Like, this is huge. Then it's also a big deal that Stephanie McMahon is corporate officer number 3. Granted, in the lawsuit, she's only talked very briefly, and Janel Grant was going into meetings she had no business being in, but Vince was wanting to parade her around and also keep an eye on her and know what she was doing at all times. And Stephanie told her to come sit near her. Since Stephanie, and the lawsuit makes very clear that Stephanie was aware of other inappropriate sexual relationships that her father was having. So there is, so even if Stephanie is mentioned,
I mean, that's been out there.
Stephanie, when Vince stepped down, when he retired the first time, Stephanie was her and Nick Khan were the 2 main people. Then they voted to have him not come back when he tried to come back. So they clearly knew stuff, and they were trying to keep him from coming back. And so that tells you a lot right there. And then within 5 days after Vince returned, she resigned and has not been part of WWE since. Like,
right.
But all these pieces are being put together. They are showing you a very big picture. And then we have Brian Nurse, who directly hired her. I
wonder if Brian Nurse was the leak.
It's possible. That's, I hadn't thought about that, but that's certainly very possible.
He's such an ambiguous. He's sort of an enigma in this. Like, he's like a very enigmatic figure in this entire situation.
Because he was their general lawyer.
Like, he bounced. Like, he was like, I am out. He had been lawyering for them forever, and all of a sudden he up and quits. Like, when high level executives, like, the head of your legal department up and quits, and then your Jerry McDevitt wasn't that far behind.
Right.
And which tells you a lot, because he would have seen some of this, and that means that he got to look at this and went,
well,
no.
And because Vince was going behind WWE's back to put these NDAs together, which they're saying these NDAs are probably not good in general. From what I understand, NDAs generally do not hold up, because if in most cases people who are forced to sign NDAs do it under duress, and so a lot of times they will not stand up. But these were so poorly written.
Well, that's because they were written by Vince and not an actual lawyer, because he was hiding us, or at least performatively hiding behind his executive position and being who he is.
And so that's why Janel Grant's lawyer is challenging her NDA, which means if hers, and likely it will not stand up, which means the other women who have been signing NDAs especially the last few years, because they were all done behind WWE's back. And so they will all likely not stand up in court. And so these women could potentially join Janel Grant's lawsuit. They could have their own lawsuit. Or even if they say they don't even file any type of legal recourse, those NDAs don't stand up. That means that they can talk if they want to.
They can say whatever they want to whoever they want to.
Yeah. They can say,
and that's a preponderance of evidence right there, which creates, and
then you also got, like we've talked about, John Laurinitis is only doing things to save his ass, but now he is also singing, and he is also corroborating things, and it could get, and like BJ Bethel pointed out a few weeks ago, this is going to be a long drawn out thing. It's going to take at minimum a year, but because there is a lot of money involved, it could drag out for years. So this information is but that's what's going to happen. Information is going to come out, and the WWE is going to try to distract you from it, because this is what they do. Like we've talked about how many times with like the NDA, one of the NDA stories comes out, and then very next day they fired Mandy Rose, and that's all everybody talked about. They quit talking about the NDA because that's what they do. They are very good at the look over here, not over here. And that's what they did that's what they did. That's what this whole stupid ass Rock storyline came from. They wanted you to focus on Rock and Cody and forget that there's a lawsuit against this company. Like they did. Yes, Venkin.
Bob
hey, look
actually
at our sold out arena. Yes.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
Exactly
You know what? It's so funny because this morning when we were talking, I was chatting with Bob about this, and he said, well, if it didn't happen on WWE television, it didn't happen, right? And I was like, God, that is like perfect. That's a perfect summation of this entire situation, because when you see WWE fans defending their situation online, which is it's a choice. That's a hill to die on. I mean,
sure is.
If you want to support sex trafficking, assaulting, rapist, murder, cover-upper types, then that's cool. But it's not a hill I would choose to die on.
No.
But I mean, again, you got to consider sort of like, I mean, I feel bad for people who genuinely like the product, and it's getting dragged through this. I mean, it was bound to happen sooner or later, I guess, because this guy's been doing this for so long, and the nature of life in a digital world where everything is so much more, whether people like it or not, it's just out there.
Yeah. Well, and then he made the decision to take WWE public. And that is where he has to answer. He is beholden to stockholders,
correct,
and shareholders, and
the
they
market, and the government.
Yeah. So now that in hindsight may have been his undoing, because now people can investigate him, and now these things he's beholden to other rich people who don't like you messing with their money. And so they
can probably make the Janel lawsuit go away with a settlement. Maybe not, because Ann Callis is very committed.
And the feds are involved, because they
can't make the stuff that's federal go away, because that's a separate situation entirely.
Yeah.
So there are still ongoing federal investigations.
Yeah.
That are they're going to from her lawsuit. So we have, I mean, at any moment, the feds could come out and be like, this many things have gone on, and we're charging you with sex trafficking.
Right.
I mean, we have no idea, because they are still out there doing their federal investigation thing.
Yeah, and this isn't something that happens. They started this last summer.
Before even the leak happened, they rated it,
and they reported it in an SEC filing last year, if I remember correctly. That's how the information came out. That's how we knew about it. It's because it's in the SEC filing. And so,
I mean, he had to pay this company $17 million back.
And he's still selling off stock. He sold off stock last week.
I don't think he's hard up for money. I think he's just doing that.
No, I think TKO is trying to get there. They say, we don't talk to him. We don't know what he's doing. He's just doing whatever he wants. We have nothing to do with him. Okay,
but we've heard from talent that are, even Ronda Rousey, who is pretty company line, came out and said, if dude is still here, then Vince
which I pointed out in my article again. I was like, Bruce Pritchard is still there. If these people are still there, then Vince still has a way in.
He still has.
Triple H is still there. And listen, I'm not accusing Triple H of anything, but this information coming out does not clear him. I saw that a lot. They're like, people owe Triple H an apology. Not yet. We don't.
He's married to Stephanie. How is that possible?
Yeah, even
as a wife, my husband and I talk about stuff.
Well, and see, that's the thing. People were saying that she could be trying to protect the business and protect her dad.
Well, and that's the deal.
So he may not know the full extent, but I guarantee you he knew there was an inappropriate relationship at the very least. I don't know what he knew. I feel like, and then there are people they're like, oh, well, look, he's letting Shayna Baszler go wrestle in Bloodsport because he wants you to look over here and not over here. Just because
he is. That's an easy.
Not just because he's not a corporate officer does not mean he wasn't involved, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't know. We don't know yet. It's way too early in this investigation to be clearing anybody, because as we have seen time and time again, there is way more to this. This is the tip of the iceberg, and I will not give him the benefit of the doubt. Not in this situation. There's
not at this point.
There's too much information. I would love to be wrong. I hope he doesn't know anything, but I'm also not an idiot. He is married to corporate officer number 3, and he is the son-in-law of Vince McMahon.
Yep.
He knew something. What he knew, I don't know. How far it goes, I don't know. I'm not willing to clear him of anything.
If I ever got a shot at asking Triple H a question, it would absolutely be, would you leave your daughters alone with their grandfather? Just to see the look on his face and him trying to deny that because unless he wouldn't care and he's just
unless he has convinced himself that Vince wouldn't do anything because he's their grandfather, which certainly possible. People will tell themselves, yes, but people will tell themselves many things to be able to sleep at night.
Yeah.
So, but I saw that a lot when this came up. They're like, oh, well, he's not corporate officer number 1, so he's cleared. Y'all owe him an apology. Nobody owes him an apology until we know everything.
That's a leap. That's a Grand Canyon size leap.
Just because he's not a corporate officer does not mean that he did not know what was going on. He is a high-level employee. And on top of being married to corporate officer number 3, he is high level in that company and has been.
And they're not just suing the people. This is not just John Laurinitis and Vince. It's WWE, the company. That's the third person that's being accused of these things and brought to the suit is bringing to bear on John Laurinitis, Vince McMahon, and the corporation of WWE, the company that he is ahead of right now.
Yeah.
End of story.
He's still high up in that company. And then what they're going to do,
folks. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
So this stuff is far from over. I'm sure they're going to tout big WrestleMania numbers because WrestleMania was pretty much sold. They were pretty much sold out months ago. It has nothing to do with The Rock, no matter what they're going to tell you. The Rock was they were not even talking about, not publicly talking about him when the tickets were selling out. So they're going to be like, oh, The Rock sold these many tickets. No, he didn't.
Yeah, they reported this week that they had a big thing where they announced this week how many sold, how many they've already sold and how great it is, and it's awesome, and you can still get your tickets.
And they always
sell out, and the secondary market's really high for get-in, so it's WrestleMania.
Yeah, but they're going to tout all the stuff. They're going to tout all the stuff with WrestleMania about the social media impressions and the YouTube views and all of the stuff that they already do, but they're gonna, because they want you to not pay attention. They will just, that's already coming. They've already got their press releases ready. It's already coming. And even no matter what comes out, if anything comes out between now and WrestleMania, which is certainly possible. I mean, we just got this information last week. So, I mean, they're going to do what they do, which is look over here.
Week.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yes.
It's been a long...
about. It's
only March and it feels like July in some ways with this.
Yeah. And I was reading that and I was like, yeah, it was just January 25th that this lawsuit was filed. Not even 2 months ago.
Yep. It's crazy.
It's insane. So we will do what we do and we will continue to cover it and pay attention to it because it's important and it needs to be talked about. We're not going to let it
go away because Janel and people like Ashley Massaro need to get justice somehow.
Yeah.
And
they all deserve better.
Their families and themselves need that. It would be lovely to see justice prevail for once, but here we are.
Here we are.
But we're going to still keep yelling about it, so... Stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. Click subscribe. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Help us defeat the algorithm. Rah! There, I threw it in there. I had to.
Yes, there we go. We did it. So now the other big story of the week.
I will keep yelling, Daz. I definitely will.
Yes, we will. I don't know if this came in before or after, but I think he knows more than what he said in that press conference. How about this? I'll put it this way to be really clear on my position with this.
Do I think that he knows how far-reaching it was? Probably not. But do I think that he knows that there was an illicit relationship going on between an employee and Vince McMahon? Absolutely. No question.
It was happening in their workplace.
That many people that did know can't know and not have him know.
Well, and who knows? It says that Brian Nurse told at least one executive. Triple H is an executive. Perhaps he told him.
Was
we don't know.
Farming her out to talent. Triple H books talent. I mean, I guess 2 + 2 can equal 5 in your world if you want it to, but
maybe.
I mean, I just want to be clear on my position. Do I think that he knew about all the disgusting, horrible things that are in that lawsuit?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Because I don't think most people can fathom what the stuff that's in there. Because yikes.
Right.
But
right.
I there's no way it's almost impossible that he couldn't have known that there was no.
When the president of the company is helping to cover it up,
yeah, exactly.
Then it's very hard to say that no, he didn't even know about that. I don't. I don't buy
married
that.
to one of the people that are in that are confirmed to be inside this lawsuit now, and
I will say, because I somehow got on the PR list for the law firm, and they sent this to me. I did ask if there was any information that they could provide on Triple H, and they said that they're basically just releasing the information that they have at this time. I don't know. So who knows for sure? Maybe something is there, maybe not. Maybe they don't have, who knows? But at this time, these are the 4, and these are the ones that they're giving information on. And those 4 are huge, regardless of with Triple H being in there. Those are 4 huge names. 2 of those are very huge. So, Brad says if Stephanie knew, her husband knew. I feel like most likely. I mean, I know,
and I think Brad is also a husband. So, I think that's something you would talk.
And sure, unless
you don't. I mean, there's plenty of shitty relationships out in the world, and people don't talk to each other at all. Right. That's not. You have kids, and you are in the house together.
Linda and Vince are right there. They are married on paper.
Oh yeah, no, and they've even said that for years.
And they don't really talk. So sure, perhaps it's possible that Stephanie and Triple H don't talk.
Have the same relationship. I don't buy that when you look at the story from when he was in the hospital for his heart condition, and they were basically saying like, you need to bring your family in here and say goodbye, and you can't be that close and have that doesn't mesh with the idea that him and Stephanie don't have otherwise it would be like, keep that kids and the stuff away from the, it just, I don't know. It doesn't add up.
No,
it just doesn't.
It doesn't. And I think
especially after the way that the company treated Stephanie, lest we forget that they buried her on the way out.
Sure did.
And
they sure did.
As her husband, as a wife, if someone buried my husband on the way out, I wouldn't be too happy about it.
Yeah, it's just, and we also have to remember that Stephanie grew up in that family, and I'm guessing the McMahons probably operate. They operate on a very different way than a lot of families do. We've talked about that before with the stuff with Shane McMahon. Did he know about some of this stuff, but was he told not to say things? Did he feel he was not safe to tell things, to report it?
I mean, I believe that Dave spoke on, like, when they were speaking on Observer Radio about the fact that, like, there were times when Vince wanted him to be more like him, and Shane was like, I don't want to. And if you connect the dots on that, I mean, gross. But I mean, essentially, like, man up is the nature of that generation, especially in that, and the narcissists with that level of money doing those kinds of things, they don't care about their relationship with their children.
Right. And there is the very, we've talked about, there is the very real question of, if he knew or suspected something, why didn't he go to the authorities? But then also, on the other hand, if Vince McMahon is manipulating other people, he's probably manipulating his own children. There's no telling what type of relationship he has with them, and how things happen in that family.
Well, just because you're estranged from your rich family doesn't mean they're not still sending you money. I mean, that happens all the time. It's very possible. Who knows?
Yeah.
We have no idea. I mean, this is wild speculation, folks. We've reached the wild speculation portion of the program.
Well, stuff is still gonna, again, we're very early into all of this. And there's still gonna be information coming, and it's a very sensitive situation, but it's a messy one. But we'll have to, I can only imagine how this stuff is far from over. We're just at the very beginning. And so there, I think Daza asked if Stephanie and Triple H are still together. There were rumors they were separated, or was that false? There have been some heavy rumors about some of that stuff. I have heard some interesting rumors just with them. So as far as I know, like on paper, I believe that they are still together. As far as I know, they are still married. I have not separated, but I really honestly don't know for sure, Daza. I have heard rumors to both stories, and so I'm not positive. But and Eddie asks if we think Vince hated Shane because he wasn't like him. Yes, I do. I do think that. Personally, yes, I do think that. I've always thought that. I didn't realize it was for those potentially those reasons.
Well, it's just that Dave has talked about their relationship in the past because, like it or not, he was involved in some of those cases because he was called to testify, and he was covering the stories at the time. So, I mean, it's, you take things as you take them. I mean, people's perspectives are what they are, but it seems like there's an estrangement for a reason. You don't see that sort of thing. I mean, otherwise, like, why would you not want to just live it up as a rich kid? Like,
right. And then he came out there, and the last time we saw him on TV, he injured himself in a WrestleMania match.
That's right.
And so
maybe that's why he went away, because he, like, I don't know, hurt himself.
It could have been maybe there's
like, I'm done with this. I'm done.
Yeah, it could have been because then if that was Mania, and then stuff started coming out a few months later, as far as like that's when he left and he came back, and it's been
maybe he had his own suspicions. I mean, who knows?
Perhaps he did.
No idea. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
I remember because I wasn't watching early in my life. And I remember when Shane came back during the Attitude Era.
Oh, it was
and
huge.
all my friends were like explaining to me. So
I've always been a fan of Shane, like, because I was watching WWE at that point when Shane was involved and was on TV regularly and was involved in all that, and then he went away. And when he came back, like because Nikki and I used to always joke.
I was watching when he came back.
Whose music is that? We'd always joke, oh, it's Shane McMahon. And it really was. And that was like, and because I was not sure that we'd ever see him in WWE again. And he was gone for like 7 years, I think. Something like that. 8 years, 7 years. I think it's 7 years.
Because I remember my friends that I was watching with were telling me, like, catching me up on it, like, this is the situation, here's the story, this is why this is such a big deal. Because, when you're a new fan and you have no idea.
Sure, yeah.
Big deal.
Yeah.
So everyone's all the nerds got to nerd you in on it.
Yeah, Nikki says she thinks it was, I think it was, he was gone for 7 years, and then I believe that I saw the other day, it's been 8 years since his return.
Shane is very interesting, yes.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation with him and just that family. Then you kind of worry, because if you sit and think about, like, if he manipulated all these people that work around him, there's no telling what he did to his own family to manipulate and things like that. Because he is a narcissist. It's easy to he's a narcissist, so there's no telling.
Everything about it. Just that's the end. Like it. I think JD and Mike used the term megalomaniac, and I hadn't heard that term in a really long time, and I was like, yeah, that's because it's such a rare instance, but totally true for this guy. I mean,
yes, I think that's accurate to describe him, I would say.
Yeah.
Yes. So now we really will talk about to me, the very big story. Well, that is a big, and I don't want to downplay that because it is a big story.
That's a big story. It's negative and bad for wrestling and horrible, and it makes it look bad.
The other very big story, the very exciting story,
the good story about wrestling that we can get excited about.
AEW had Big Business on Tuesday or Wednesday, and it was the big business that we all suspected it was. They did handle her very much like the CM Punk thing, where they didn't come out and say it, but they strongly hinted at it, and it worked. And
yeah, for the most part, they ended up selling, I think, over 9,500. They were close to 10,000 in the building. And
at first, when she first, like, they showed the car and she didn't get out, and I was like, oh man, they are going to drive this crowd insane. Like, if she doesn't come right now, like this, they were already, and I was like, what? And because you and I talked about it last week. What happens if they wait and hold her till the 9 o'clock hour? Do they risk the fans hijacking the show? And I think they probably would have. I think that's what would have happened. But man,
that Boston crowd was hot, baby. Man, they were
hot. Like,
it was nice. It's nice to see a good, like, I've noticed though, and I was saying this, is that the crowds have been really hot, and I think obviously the Will Ospreay and Okada factors. But I was thinking about this, like, you had that huge crowd in Alabama a couple of weeks. And I was like, yeah, because how often is Okada and Ospreay going to come through your town when you're right? So I think it's cool.
And they also got, and I think Alabama got like some of the last Sting stuff. They got the last Sting appearance where he came down, where he rappelled down from the, from the rafters. So like, that's a bit, that was a huge thing. But she just, I was so happy for her.
Me too.
She looks happy. She looked, of course, she got emotional with it, and she looked amazing. Like, she looks like a star. They treated her like a star. I hope that continues. I hope they continue to treat her like a star, because it just, and I like that they made a big deal about it. Like, this is a huge deal to land somebody of Mercedes Moné's caliber, and to be able, when you have already spent money on Ospreay and Okada, and then you turn around and you feel like Mercedes is somebody that also deserves to have a lot of money spent on her, and you treat her like a big deal. You give her basically her own show, like it's called Big Business, about her, and you treat her as the main attraction. She is. I really appreciated how they handled it. What did you think about it?
They did a great job. I loved her new music. I'm happy to see her in the ring. I love the fact that this is going to help women in wrestling get paid better.
Yes.
Because, I mean,
yes.
That in a different company, I mean, that is something that I'll give Tony. Thanks, Tony. Thanks.
Yeah.
When
you do stuff like that, we'll tell you thank you.
we just passed the Equal Work Day, where women start catching up to men and the amount of money that we make versus men in the workforce. And this felt good this week to see somebody like help elevate the situation for female athletes and people like that. And I thought that they handled it great. I loved the song. I love her hair. I know some people, I just love it. She looks great.
Yeah, I love everything that she does. And I didn't really think about it, but I was talking to a friend like right after, like it was like as the debut was happening, and he was like, she built in a chant into her theme song. Like that's so genius.
Smart.
To have. And from what Mikey Ruckus says, he had nothing to do with her entrance music. She did her entrance music. She did all of it, like, which is insane that she's that. I mean, that's so cool to see that she's that hands-on, like that she created that, and then she uses and she looks like nobody else. Like her hair is, well, I guess Trinity's hair, she does some of the similar stuff with the writing in her hair, but like the two of them, which of course they're so close, and they're the things that the journey the two of them have been on together in the last 2.5 years, it's incredible to see what they've been through. And like I saw a clip of an interview she did right before she came into AEW, and she was talking about, like, she gets emotional still talking about that time. Like, it's so much more than they didn't like the way they were being booked. There's a lot more to it, and maybe we'll find out the details. Maybe but I was like, I can only imagine with it being John Laurinitis, because that's they left those titles on John Laurinitis's desk. So that tells you that he and Vince were very involved in whatever was happening there. And I can imagine there's a lot of disrespect. Like, I feel it's so much more than how they were booked. It's just there's disrespect in the way they were treated and what they were seen as and how they were valued.
Even when they finally put those belts out there, it was Bayley and Sasha who advocated for those belts the entire time, the tag belts the entire time. They finally get them and they put them on the freaking Iconics, and they never took them seriously from day one.
No, and they still have issues booking those titles.
Oh, it's terrible because they were a joke from the start, so they never took them seriously. And so after suffering that, and then having the stuff, I don't blame Trinity and Sasha, and I'm glad. It's pretty cool because when you look at the whole thing, it's like, see, we can do it. Women can also say, I've had enough. I'm throwing my belt on your desk. I'm storming out of here. I'll get my lawyers on you, and I'm getting out of this deal, and I'm getting my payday. I'm going out there and doing that. Like, it is
look at them.
And hopefully will inspire, whether you're an independent wrestler or a current wrestler, is that possibility exists and that you can be that person.
Right. And I don't want to, of course, this is a huge step for women and women in wrestling, but we also have to make the fact they are two Black women who did this. And we know how they are viewed in the wrestling industry and how they are treated just because of that. On top of that, so not only is it which is huge that two women took the step and took a chance on themselves and did these things, but it's also two Black women in a job, not a company, but a company, but also in wrestling business in general, in a profession that has always there's been racial things happening, and there has been, people have been held back because of that. And it's very, that's not hyperbolic. Like, this is literally, like, you can see literal cases of where this happened. So on top of it being women, which is huge for women in wrestling, but also for Black women in wrestling, and to have that representation of these Black women who are doing these things, which I think is, I have so much respect for the two of them. I think they're incredible talents, and they seem like they're even more incredible people, and I hope the best for them. And Brad does make the point. Let's look at Naomi since returning, and it is a little concerning. However, it looks like they're putting her with Bayley, based on what happened Friday night. Bayley has nobody. Everybody turned on her. Her group turned on her, and then Naomi was talking to Bianca, and Bianca was like, well, you weren't here, you missed how Bayley treated us. And she was like, well, that, she's like, yeah, but still. And so she ran out to help her Friday night. So it seems like they're doing that. So we'll see. And there's some comments over here about her. And so Brad says it's a huge story that she was allowed to make her own theme and use it other places. Cough the Fed derogatory. Cough wouldn't allow that. And Laurent says Mercedes wrote it with her advocate. Also check out the latest episode of the Heel Squad podcast where her advocate talks a little about the song. Oh, cool. Thanks for the heads up, Laurent.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Right. And I don't expect any forgiveness from the locker room. It still doesn't mean that she should be treated like that. Considering what she did, it doesn't make it right, whether I expect forgiveness or not. But hopefully, I just hope she's happy. I hope she's getting everything. I hope WWE, everything that they promised her to get her to come back, I hope they deliver and more. So I hope that, I hope she's happy. And then I hope Mercedes, I hope that, this is everything that Mercedes wanted. And she talks about making this global, making it global. And she just means like being able to, which is insane to think about, that she can come wrestle in AEW and she can go back to Japan and she can go wrestle in Mexico. She can go wrestle, she can wrestle wherever and still have AEW as her home base and still go do these other things, which is taking it global, which is huge. And if anybody can do it, it's Mercedes. I think she's proved that. And so I think that, I'm really happy for her. And one of the things I actually was going to bring up, I don't know if you guys saw I'm sure you did, the Sports Illustrated interview. I haven't had a chance to read the entire interview, but I saw where she talked about how she was told that injury was career ending, which is insane. And so she said, I screenshot this. She said, I got an MRI in May and the surgeon told me this is career ending. That was the biggest shock in my whole life. I'd never really been injured like this before. My worst injury before this was from Hell in a Cell in 2019 when my pelvis was out of place for 8 months. I was like, ma'am, that is a very serious injury.
That's a pretty serious
Sounds very
injury.
painful.
With pelvic issues. That doesn't feel good.
Yeah, bless her. She said people thought it was just a broken ankle, but she was non-weight bearing for 3 months. So, she was in the beginning, she would tweet. There was a few days where she posted on her Insta story and her foot was elevated and then those stopped. And so I guess it stopped because she was not, she was having to deal with this. She was having to deal with this reality that there's a possibility that she is never going to wrestle again. And it's in the height of what she's doing. Like just the timing is incredible. And she said it was devastating when I was told I was never going to come back, but I always knew I would be back. And I told that to my surgeon. Now I'm healthy. And my surgeon is calling his mentor saying, look what happened here. It's incredible. I don't like being told no. I always believed I would be back. And now it's true. So that's just awesome. Incredible. I can't wait. I can't wait to see her in the ring. I hope that she is comfortable on, being, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of hesitation and some fear there, but which is completely understandable, but I can't. So I'm wondering like if they're going to hold her out of matches for a little bit. Dynasty is a month away. They could keep her out of the ring until not have her she could get physical without having a match. But so I'm curious to see if she has an actual match before Dynasty or if Dynasty is the first one. So I'm kind of curious how they'll handle that because they kind of did that with Saraya's neck. Like they waited a while, like they kept having her come out on TV before they finally gave her. But then but if I remember right, they did a TV match with her first before the pay-per-view match, I want to say. So
can't remember.
I can't remember the exact. So
I feel like I don't know. If it were me, I guess I would probably want to wrestle before the pay-per-view. Just to get it out, get some reps, run the. Just to get the ring rust off, even if it's and to see how my ankle functions.
And they could give her. I know people don't want to hear it. They could give her a shorter match. I'm not saying a 3-minute match, but they may give her, but they may potentially even do it in a tag team match to give her a cover of just letting her see how she feels. And they kind of hinted at that on Wednesday because she came out there to help Willow. And so obviously there's the story and the history with them.
Right. Some people know about that and some people don't. But for me, I was like, well, that's the obvious storyline right there is Willow.
Yeah. So it seems like they're kind of hinting at something with that. She clearly has her eyes set on the TBS title. I assume my guess is they're doing Julia versus Mercedes at Dynasty and Mercedes wins the title. That seems like the plan. But I think so I could see them doing maybe a couple weeks before Dynasty, letting her do a tag match with her and Willow against Julia and Sky Blue and kind of easing her into it. Because if you look at it, like Thunder Rosa has been eased back into stuff since she's been back. She's only had a couple of matches. She's been off TV. She's getting ready to have a match, but it's a tag team match. And they kind of did the same. Serena Deeb came back and she's wrestled a couple of matches and then they've kind of backed off. So I think they're trying to give them, like, they're not trying to overdo it and give them too much too fast. I'm sure if Mercedes had her way, she would probably wrestle every single week, but I'm sure they're trying to kind of ease her back into this because that's a very serious injury and you don't want her getting injured just, right after she comes back. So, right. But I trust Mercedes to know her own body and to know, what she's capable of and what she can handle right away. And she's been training obviously a lot. So, she definitely, I'm sure she has a lot of input on that, but I would not be surprised if they're kind of trying to go slowly with her at the beginning until she's, more comfortable in the ring and that they could get her back. And she's on top of that. She's been out of the ring for over a year now. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like you said, there's a little bit of ring. There's obviously going to be some kind of ring
even
rust
her
there.
when obviously she was very emotional coming back, but you could tell like it's time that she needs the time. She needs to get back in the swing, back in the habit. The way it is like you kind of have to go in there and just like she cut a great promo. She like was awesome, and she came out and had like kind of the challenge phase stuff, and I think it's great.
Yeah,
but
yeah. 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 LaRon makes a really good point. It's crazy that a heel injury almost took her away from us. We're coming up on a year since the injury. If they hold her out until Double or Nothing, that would be fine with me. I don't know if Mercedes would allow that to happen. I was like, Mercedes probably wouldn't be thrilled with that, but they could let her. That's the great thing. One of the great things about Mercedes is she's such a great in-ring like character. Clearly in the ring, she's a phenomenal wrestler, but she has such a great character like that if they were to go that route, she could pull it off. I think Mercedes. I think you could trust her. You can trust. Yeah,
actually,
it is a long time.
It isn't, I guess, because Dynasty is coming up in a month, basically from a couple days from now, and then it'll be another month after that.
Yeah, Double or Nothing is at the end of
May.
Yeah,
Memorial Day weekend. So
yes. Laurent says, but he also could see them giving her a squash match on Rampage or Collision.
Sure.
I could see either of those. I really would not be surprised if they have her do a tag team match first, just to get her back in there, see how she does, keep her protected, and also you've got the built-in story with Willow. For that will come. That's clearly not a story they're going to get to right away. I think that's something they might let burn a little bit before they actually go all in with that. And I won't be surprised. I see Mercedes having gold sooner rather than later. And it seems like the TBS championship is probably where they're going with that, which I'm fine with. But let's see. I think there's some, yeah, she does need to work in front of a crowd. That's a fair point. Like, yeah. And I see both sides of it. Like I could see either way. I don't know that her first match back should be a street fight. That might be a little bit. She might be like, "Let's go, let's just get it all out of the way."
She's got like Bryan Danielson mindset, where she's just like, "Let's go, I'm ready."
Yeah, right. It could just be that too. Yeah,
and Thunder Rosa, who was like, "No one was gonna let me wrestle, and now I'm wrestling, so I'm gonna wrestle the F out of wrestling."
Of course. Well, yeah, and of course, Thunder Rosa, that's what I meant, which she's having back problems. So they've been very careful with her. They've been very slow. She's had like 2 matches since she's been back, and or no, maybe it's 3. I think then they were both 2 tag teams, and I think a singles match, and then she's going to be back in a tag team match. So they're being very careful. They did that with Saraya too. They were trying to be careful with her when she first came back. There was, she was going, weeks. I think even a couple of months between matches because they were trying to give her neck time. They didn't want to push her too much, too fast. Brett said, that what the discourse would be if she had a match on Rampage, it would be really ugly for a few days. You could just make the whole hour Mercedes hour. Maybe it'll be okay. Benny says that will bring the TBS title up. I think so. And I don't mean that as anything bad with Julia, because I love Julia and I think Julia was the right call for the time. But I think that Mercedes is I don't know exactly what's happening with Toni Storm and where they're going, because they're still telling the story with Mariah May, and maybe they didn't know exactly when they were getting Mercedes at the time, so they continued with the story they're telling. So I don't know. There's still the possibility of Jamie Hayter coming back. We don't know. We haven't heard anything in a while. Maybe they're keeping it quiet. Yeah. Maybe they're keeping it quiet because they don't want to spoil her coming back. But then there's also been, there had been rumors in the beginning that this was also a career-ending injury for her. So it may just be that they're trying to be very careful. Britt Baker I know Tony said last week that we will probably see Britt Baker soon, but Britt has very bad back problems as well. Maybe she's going to be an on-screen character. Maybe she has been, taking time away from the ring has helped improve it some. Maybe she doesn't need surgery at this point. We don't really know yet, but those are lingering things. Megan Bain is coming at some point. She's been done with Stardom for a while. Now we have this relationship with Stardom. Clearly, because last week Tony Khan posted a picture with the new president, and they were and they had Mina she filmed an ROH match like right after that picture came out. So there's clearly something going on with Stardom now. There are, I don't know how accurate it is, but there are rumors that Forbidden Door is going to be AEW, New Japan, Stardom, and CMLL all kind of on this card, which would be incredible. So there's all these things, and so that could be a way to bring Megan Bayne in, because Megan Bayne spent like 9 months, I think, in Stardom. She's been done for a couple of months. Then I saw it in the comments, where is Yuka Sakazaki? That is a good question.
Riho needs to be working as much as possible.
Riho, because Riho does a lot like she does. She splits her time between Japan and here. They both have careers in Japan, and they do both. But when Riho is here, she pops ratings all the time. People love her.
So over.
If she wanted to wrestle fully in AEW again, I don't think they would have any problem with that. I think it's just what she wants to do, and so she's doing both. Emmy she's been back in Japan. I know she tweeted a couple of months ago she was in India at one point. I just saw she was announced for Deadlock Pro's show in Raleigh next month. She'll be on that show. So Emmy, I would assume, is making her way back to TV at some point. So there's a lot going on. Yeah, Camille may also be coming to AEW. There was rumors that she's been talking to them, that the stuff with WWE cooled off. So, there's there's a lot in this. I mean, it's a good problem to have if we could just figure out where to put them in, which, should require you to put more than one match on Dynamite every week.
Yeah, you got a lot of women talent now. You might want to do something with it.
Yes, and especially a woman who is trying to bring a revolution to women's wrestling.
Yeah,
like a legit one, not the kind that Saraya was talking about, but a legit one. But then you also have these women who were fighting for the stuff anyway, and they were fighting for blood and guts, and Tony said no. So you've got so the women have been wanting to do things, they just haven't been allowed to do things. Like, we have to. It's 2024. It's time to have. We're in year 5. It's time for women to main event pay-per-views. You have 2 women in your company now who have main evented pay-per-views. You've had Mercedes has main evented multiple pay-per-views. Deonna Purrazzo has main evented multiple pay-per-views. So it's time. You've got extra pay-per-views now. You have Dynasty. you could let Mercedes headline Dynasty if you wanted to. There's nothing stopping you. I mean, I guess you could say you could put Osprey and Danielson. That is clearly a main event match anywhere. However, you can also put Mercedes in the main event. There, you could do that now, Tony. I mean, you could have done it, but now you really can. You've got some main eventers here. You can do it now. Let's see. Daza said they've not really done anything with Julia as champion. It's a shame, as she's a unique and compelling character. Well, she was injured briefly and has just returned within the last few weeks, and she has defended her title. She defended her title last night against Trish Adora, and Trish Adora is somebody else who needs a title. I know there's only so many titles to go around, but my goodness, Trish Adora is
that lady.
Y'all know, if you've been watching this show for any amount of time, that Mel and I love her. She's incredible. And to have her, I love that they did the stuff. I love that they had her and the infantry be on the show together last night. And both have matches. I thought that was really cool. I hope that I love her. Yeah, I was just watching her last night. I was like, please just put a title on her, please. Which again makes me mad that they knocked her out of the ROH women's title tournament, and they knocked her out in the first round. And I was like, what are you doing? Granted, it's likely coming down between Billy Starks and Queen Aminata. And at this point, it could go either way, because it seemed like it was Billy's title. But then there's some stuff with Athena, and Athena basically was like, I don't know if you can win matches by yourself, and you better win this title or else. So now they're planting seeds that perhaps Billy is not going to be the one. Perhaps it will be Queen Aminata. So there is a little bit, I mean, they might just be doing that to make it more compelling, which is always possible. But I would not be mad at Billy Starks being the ROH TV champion, women's TV champion, but I would also not be mad if it was Queen Aminata, because she's amazing too.
She is great. I really like her.
Vinkin said, I'm curious if Anna Jay would go to Japan to be with Jack Perry. Going to Japan would not hurt her. It could only help her. I think that that
she'd get to wrestle, so
that would be smart for her, because when she signed with the AEW, I think she said she had only had 7 matches ever, and she has improved, but there are definitely other things that she could do to improve. And like Sky Blue has been doing indie shows recently,
cool.
And you can see that is translating on like she seems more confident. She's doing, like, she's hitting her code blues better. She seems to be doing, overall, I feel like she's been improving. And so I think that working the indies has helped her, and I think Anna Jay could benefit from either working the indies or going to Japan. I think really, obviously, any woman could benefit from going to wrestle in Japan, and I think a lot of them want to, or they even want to go to Mexico, which would be also with the CMLL relationship. That could be something, hopefully we see more of. And then we've got, like we talked about last week, is that it seems like Stephanie is going to be featured.
Stephanie Vicker,
yeah, it seems like she's going to be around, because Tony told me yes. And then she won the New Japan women's title. So, it definitely seems like it's possible. Let's see. There's more comments. Laurent says, I think that TK has a month, so start giving us more women's matches on TV before they start coming for him. Are you kidding me? They're going to come for him next week.
Where's Mercedes?
Yes. And he said that he thinks that Trish is going to get a call up from ROH. I hope so, because she should be on TV. And again, and I will keep saying this, she wrestled Aja Kong in December.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
I watched it with my own eyeballs in front of me. So, yes, and there is Abaddon. They have been doing a great job in ROH. They've done great in this tournament. They got like 10 minutes last week. And so I don't think they're going to put the title on Abaddon. However, I do like that and that's the thing. People are like, ROH needs to go away. No, because where are they going to put Abaddon? Where are they going to put Nyla Rose? Where are they going to put Ethan Page? Where are they going to, well, I was going to say, where are they going to put Kyle Fletcher? But Kyle Fletcher's been.
I don't think ROH needs to go away. I just think that it would behoove Tony to focus on one or the other. So, like, pick one. Like, get a booker. For ROH.
Chris Hero is involved in booking down there. So is Maria. He just needs to hand them the books. Like, not that he can't have any say in what is happening, but I think
he needs to focus on the TV shows, the main advertised television shows that he is not out of the negotiation period with. Like, he can't even shop around right now, per like where he is in their contract. That was some of the news that was in the Observer this week, that it's that they're still in a range where they can't talk to other people. They only it's WBD or nothing right now. And so I feel like him focusing on the TV shows and trusting the people that he's hired.
And he's not wrong.
Like, why do you keep hiring these great people if you don't trust them? Like, let them do their jobs that you hired them.
And I get it. Like, it's hard to, that's been his baby from the beginning. Like, I get that. But at some point, and clearly the TV shows right now should be his priority because he is shopping them and he's trying to make I get that. So then give it to Chris Hero. Chris Hero knows what he's doing. He's booking for West Coast Pro is who he's booking for. And he's ROH through. Yeah, he's ROH through and through. Maria clearly knows what she's got. She's got her women's division. Her and Bobby Cruz ran the whole Women of Honor Championship tournament they did before ROH was sold. Like, he's got people down there who love that brand and want it to succeed. So give them more freedom to book. Let them take that off of your plate and let them do it, and have, you can have good people involved and try to do this. And so
he's got good people. He hired good people.
He did.
It's just, look at their resumes. Why would you hire them if they didn't have the resumes that they have? Mm-hmm. Let them do what they do, what you hired them to do. It's okay. I know delegating responsibility is hard, but you got to do it.
Yeah, you do.
And you got to trust the people that you hired. Otherwise, like, get new people that you can trust.
Right. And I don't know that you can trust many more people with ROH than Chris Hero and Maria Kanellis Bennett.
I can't even imagine like the two of them actually getting like the final word where it was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let you two do this. And I mean, because I think they really would commit to that because of
I think
their
they would
histories.
too.
I think it'd be interesting to watch. And it can't, I mean, the product is on the Dynamite shows and stuff. You know what I mean? Like the ROH tapings are on the Dynamite shows, so that's irrelevant.
Or
like,
the Collision tapings, yeah. I mean, sometimes they are on Dynamite depending on where they're going.
That's right, because Rampage comes, but mostly on Collision.
Yeah.
But I mean, the idea is that like you have wiggle
and that's
room.
why I kept getting frustrated because they would book them on Collision and I'm like, ROH is right after. Like you literally could why did you book the Undisputed Kingdom on Collision when ROH is right there?
Right after.
Literally right when you're done. We got like a 5-minute breather for you to change the curtains to say the apron to say ROH. Like
I think they're digital now. I don't know.
Right? just have them come down there. But they have had, Benny says that ROH has had some good stories. They have been getting good stories. And that's the thing. Like, I know that they can do it. They have the talent to do it.
Well, they have. The whole Athena story seems like it's been very
well, and there is, but then there's the story with Dalton Castle and Johnny TV. Like, that's been like Dalton, I've talked about. Dalton is on a completely other level with his character work right now. Like, it's been amazing. And now it's gotten to the point where in order to wrestle Johnny TV, they made him put the boys on the line. That was the stipulation. Whoa. And they won. Johnny TV won. So he and Taya are in control of the boys. And this happened like 2 weeks ago. So like so we have that story happening, and there's the women's tournament stories and the stories within that, because that's the one thing I hope is happening with this tournament is like once this tournament is over, clearly, obviously build up people for the winner who is presumably Billy Starks. But then you've got Mercedes Martinez and Diamante cost Abaddon because Diamante lost. She got beat by Billy Starks at the beginning of the show, so she's out of the tournament. So later she came and she tried to help Mercedes and she cheated and she hit Abaddon and Mercedes won. So there's that story that they can tell when this is done. Like, so they're building these little things. And then, yeah, I mean, so if they just put more effort and more consistent effort into it. And if they put the damn titles on their show, like it would be fun. And like they do, it seems like every few months they start getting it going. And then it falls apart again because Tony has 9 million things to do. And I'm like, just do it. And then and so there's the infantry and the outrunners, and then Dalton and Taya segment ROH for this week was so funny. It was really good. Like as Johnny and Taya and Dalton all play off of each other really well, and so it's really entertaining. And like we've seen Lexi. We've talked about how Lexi started out with Athena and Billy, and then she's done some really great stuff with Dalton. And then actually Athena got mad at her 2 weeks ago, and she was like, "What are you doing? You're part of the family. You're not allowed to like interview. Like you only work for me. You can't work for anybody else on the show.
Can't be cavorting others."
Yes, exactly. I'm back now, but so there are some really good things. There are some really positive things that Jake could just get it all consistently on one, with their storytelling. I think they'd be fine because the wrestling is there. They have really great matches. And like I said, I like to see like Jack Cartwheel has really gotten to do some stuff down there, and the fans like when I saw him, like I already enjoyed him anyway from seeing him on independent stuff. But like when when the ROH was in Charlotte, like Jack was huge. He was hugely over with the fans. Like they were really into him and they were chanting for him and they wanted him in the match when he was like on the apron, like on the outside and stuff. So like it has been good for stuff like that too. And so I just hope they can get their shit together and not just when it's time for a pay-per-view, like keep the momentum going. So
yeah,
we shall see.
All right.
I think
what's next?
Well, we kind of covered the AEW Stardom relationship, so I think we pretty much covered most of it.
We got to everything just about.
We did.
No, we did get to everything because we started with them. That's right, because we talked about Bloodsport already.
Yeah, we kind of took it back. We kind of went the opposite way, but that's all right.
That's right. We bounce around. We're good at it. We're flexible. We can.
We are.
We can adjust.
We can. Yes.
We don't have to. We can't. We don't stick to the straight story.
We don't have to. We do try to stick where we had gotten to where we were trying to keep the crappy stuff at the beginning so that we could end on a high note.
Right.
And then it kind of came second this time, but that's all right. We got to it. We got to it out of the way.
Asking questions, and we'd like to answer your questions first.
And then we got to the good stuff with Mercedes, and ROH has got good stuff. They just got to figure it out. And now we have our relationship with Stardom. It looks like there are exciting things on the horizon, and I hope that there are. It looks very promising, and I'm excited for it.
Got a buttload of talent now, so I mean,
I haven't been that excited for like waiting on Dynamite in a while. Like I know it's like I can't wait because I was like, what are they going to do with Mercedes? How is she going to come out? Are they going to bring her out immediately? Are they going to make us wait? Is the crowd going to hijack the show if they do? And then they posted the Boston specific t-shirt for her that looked very much like John Cena's shirt. And then somebody was there in the crowd and they went and showed a video, and there was like this huge ass line already for people trying to get that show. It's only for Boston. And so they went and unfortunately missed matches, but I mean, it may have been on the TVs in the thing, because a lot of places will do that now.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's huge that people were like, okay, well, Mercedes is going to be back on at the end of the show. And that's another thing I forgot to mention, that was she bookended the show. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't obviously time the beginning, but she came out basically at 8:00, like with the car pulling up, and she was in the ring till 8:13. She got 13 minutes.
Nice.
To do all of that. Then she comes out then there's the section before the match where they see her, she's shaking hands with Riho. Then she comes out at the end. So she bookended the show. On top of that, she had the outfit change.
That's right. She did. She had a costume change.
Yes, she did. And so I loved all of it, and I can't. And then we are going to hear from her this week. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that. And Daza said Shayna going to do Bloodsport is so intriguing. Yeah, what I read yesterday was, and I think I mentioned this, it might have been before you got here, was that she because she used to train with Josh Barnett, and Josh Barnett has tried to get Jessamyn Duke before, because Jessamyn was with she was obviously with Shayna and all of them in NXT, and she used to train with him as well, and he tried to get her then, and they were like, no. And so this time they said he personally made the call and specifically asked for Shayna, and he was given permission. We don't know yet, because Bloodsport is not while Bloodsport is under the GCW umbrella, it is not GCW. Bloodsport is its own thing. It's Josh Barnett's show.
It's his thing.
It's called Josh Barnett's Bloodsport is what it's called. And so GCW is the umbrella who they allow him they give him the time in the collective. They give him that time slot.
The fact is that Josh Barnett is a giant shoot style wrestling fan and refuses to let it go. And we thank him for that.
Yes. And so he books GCW has nothing to do with how it's booked or anything.
It just ends up on the platform.
Yeah, they give him the platform at the collective every year, and they're like, here. So she could be matched up with
usually kick it off, because it's usually on like Thursday or Friday early.
It's the Thursday show. Usually it's like
3 or 4 o'clock. It's like the last couple years.
I think the second show, like I think they do like a noon show, and then that's like the early show. So Vinkin, it's possible that he asked for Ilya, because from what Fightful is saying, it's multiple people. Shayna is just who they announced first. I don't know if multiple means 3, because usually it would be a couple if it's 2. So multiple could be 3. People have assumed that Ilya is one of them. I would not be surprised. Could be Gunther, because before he was in WWE, like he was doing indie stuff, and he obviously chopped the shit out of everybody.
Walter was like badass. He was the OTT champion for a while.
Yeah,
John and I were just talking about how that was like the height of it, and unfortunately it's kind of slid. It's tough now because the scenes have just completely been shaken up by the talent hoarding and like the people getting signed to things.
Right.
I mean,
right.
it's not bad. It's just different now.
Yeah, and we could get Masha versus Shayna because Masha specifically kind of requested her. She said she quote tweeted it and with a GIF that said I want her or give me her or something like that. So it could be that. Bloodsport also does allow, I believe Bloodsport does allow intergender.
I think so. I can't remember. I think so. I think there was one I feel like there was one last year, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I feel like there was too. And like, because Speedball was on it, Ibushi.
Didn't John Moxley wrestle somebody?
It was Ibushi versus Speedball.
Right.
On there. John Moxley was, I think he was on it last year or the year before. Like John Moxley
was on it last year.
Yeah.
He does it pretty much every year because that's his jam too.
Yeah. He's really good friends with Josh Barnett. And this is how
the UFC stuff. So
he gets to beat the shit out of people, like when he beat the crap at him and Tom Lawler beat the crap out of each other in Defy. Hassan asks a really good question. Could we see WWE versus AEW talent on here? It's AEW does allow their talent on there. I don't know if WWE would have anything in place telling Shayna that she can't wrestle. I mean, she can't face any. I don't know how that would work. I don't know.
Interesting. Imagine.
I don't know if there'd be any type of stipulation where she couldn't. But Shayna versus Marina would be great because obviously they do the same style stuff. They're friends. They were in stuff together in UFC and obviously WWE. So, and Marina wrestled Speedball last night. It was the first time they've ever faced each other, and that match was insane. It was very, very good. There was this part where they just kicked the shit out of each other for a few minutes.
Sure.
That match was awesome. If you have Triller Plus, as it's now known, it's not Fight Plus anymore. If you have Triller Plus, I would recommend going to watch it. I think it was the whole Revolver show was good, but I think it was like the third match. But I would recommend going to see it. It was very good. Finkin said, imagine casual bloodsport match between Dragunov and Gunther.
Yikes.
That'd be insane. Brad also says that John and Karrion Kross are close. It'll be him. I could see that. Okay. Masha is in a tournament on the show. Oh, that's right, because that's the 4-way tournament, right? The 4 women. It's her and Lady Frost. Thank you. There we go.
Brad's got it for
Marina
you.
And Lindsay Snow. Yes. Yeah. I remember seeing that now. And that's going to be incredible.
That's why we love you, Brad.
Yes, because I can't wait to see Lady Frost and Lindsay Snow. If you have not seen Lindsay Snow before, she's amazing. She used to, when PWX was a thing, we got her for, bless them. They were bad about only booking like one women's match per show, and it was like the same 3 women that got booked against Savannah Evans, who is in Impact now, TNA. But they basically would bring in the same women for her to wrestle, and she wrestled Lindsay Snow a lot. But Lindsay Snow is very good.
Right on.
And Bloodsport will be right up her alley. She'll be very good. He said, "What if the mini tournament is to face Shayna?" Ooh. I didn't think about that because I clearly had forgotten about that tournament. So, then you could have Marina win that. I mean, Masha too. But even Lady Frost is AEW talent. She's under the AEW ROH banner. She has some sort of she didn't get the graphic, but she is signed to a contract with them. So that would technically be. So Lindsay Snow is the only one. I think Masha's obviously she's TNA. So interesting. Yes, she was. Yes. She Benny says she was amazing at Big Gay Brunch 8. Yes, she was. That was a really good match. Yeah, I can't wait for Big Gay Brunch 9. Oh, they announced for Big Gay Brunch this week. They announced
they're bringing back the cluster thing.
Yes,
this time. I thought about that.
The clusterfuck, I think, is Saturday night after Mania. Night 1 of Mania is over, and it's a huge one. Like I feel like. Joey said there's like, I want to say there's like 40, is it 40 people, 70 people? I don't know. It's some insane,
ridiculous,
some insane number. I can only imagine. But yes, I will be watching. But they announced for Big Gay Brunch this week. Bussy is wrestling MXM. Wait, is that who? No. That's not correct. They are wrestling. It's not MXM, right? It's because they did that at Bloodsport 8. No, they are wrestling. why did I just blank on who that was? Because they just announced it like 3 days ago, and I was going to bring it up on here and completely forgot. And I bet Brad knows. Brad can tell me.
Here?
Maybe Benny knows. I just saw it like 2 days ago, and thank you. Breezango. That's what it is. They are wrestling. Wrestling Dirty Dango and Tyler Breeze.
Tyler Breeze.
They've been trying to get this match for a while, I believe. And I think because I think Effie was like, because Effie said one of them would not do it, kept turning them down.
I've forgotten all about them.
Yeah, and he kept saying that one of them was on board with it, but the other one kept saying no. And then I guess finally, so, sorry, I got excited. Yes, I'm so glad you did, because I completely blanked and I was like, no, MXM
we help. No, it helps. We love it. Thank you.
Yes, there's so many matches.
Totally helps us. We really appreciate you guys for so many reasons.
I was talking to my editor last night. I was like, I am not thrilled that I have to watch SmackDown instead of Supercard of Honor. And I was like, I gotta figure out my collective schedule now around this. I can't remember what show is on at the same time as Supercard too. And I was like, y'all are cutting into my cutting into my time.
WWE is cutting into my wrestling.
Yes, covering WWE. And now I have to cover Raw too. So I have to watch Raw after Mania.
I think you're getting paid for it. That's the only way that I would watch at this point.
Listen, I talked about it last week. This road to Mania has been rough.
Yeah, last year's road was not very much.
No, this year's road, it's not. It's very bad.
This is weird because of what all is going on in the background.
Yes, that makes it weird. But even if you take that all away, like this stuff with The Rock is wild. Like they did a rock concert on Friday, which is where he sings. Remember, one of the last times they did the rock concert. Yeah, one of the last time they did the rock concert. So he basically body shamed
SmackDown Hotel song.
Yep, and he body shamed Vicky Guerrero like the entire time. So this one was not much better. Was just I hated it.
Thinking.
So
I'm watching for Kyrie. I don't blame you. That's the only reason to watch. Frankly,
I have little things in here that will at least make it worthwhile. Except for now, in order to watch Kevin Owens, I have to watch Logan Paul because they made a triple threat. It's Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton versus Logan Paul.
Just focus on Kevin Owens, all right?
That's what I'm gonna do. And I was like, why are you doing this to me? So yeah, it's just, but the shows have just been very. They just, even for people who enjoy the WWE product, have not been thrilled with this road to Mania. They're like, this is just, I don't like it. And I was like, it's hard to then they did, I mean, there is a tag, they're gonna do a 6-pack ladder match at Mania. It's a tag team thing. And so Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, they didn't make their tournament, doesn't make any sense. The tournament was not well explained. Like the SmackDown side, they're having like a tournament, like it's not a win and you're in type of thing. On Raw it is, but on SmackDown it is not. So Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne won on Friday, but I don't think that means that they're in the Mania match. I think they have to have one other match. And then if they win that match, they'll be in or something. I don't know. It's a big mess. I can't remember the rules. It doesn't.
Well, and I mean, even Dave and Brian, I think, were lamenting the fact that despite everything is assumed. Venkin straight up. Like what you like.
Support your favorites. I have to watch it.
Sam is literally getting paid to do this. Otherwise, she would not be doing it, folks. She's that good. She would never.
Well, and I can talk about
smart enough to not watch it unless she's getting paid.
Right, and they are at least fair enough to let me say what I want to say. So if I hate, I can talk about things. So I got to talk about, I've been able to talk about how they've been booking Bayley, and I've got to talk about how they don't let Io speak because of her. They don't like her
because they can't Japanese book further.
Yeah. So I got to talk about that type of stuff. I've got to talk about how things are inappropriate because of the whole Vince thing. Like
I'm not 1999 anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, at least with that, they give me the freedom to at least talk about these things, which is nice. So at least I can, if I want to rant about some things, I was like, the people
you're not a drone. You're at least a little bit of a journalist.
Who read these love hates, they're probably like, God, does she love anything? Not really. I did love, I will say, it was funny because Friday, I did love, they had Bailey and Dakota Kai main event. However, it was like 7.5 minutes. It was the only women's match. There were no other women representation on the show except for Zelina Vega and Elektra Lopez when they came out with men. So I was like, I do love this, but also I'm going to hate a lot of this because so it was a love disguise. It was a hate disguised as love.
Sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's work.
Most of the time it's work, and we all hate that. We are all like, these segments
when it's still a job. When it's a job.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Could be worse though. I mean, you know.
Benny says, "Our questions: do they have enough tag teams for this tournament?" Surprisingly, they do. For at least this is a men's tournament, not a women's tournament. So there are more men tag teams. Sort of, but which might explain the weird ass bracket they're doing, which I don't quite understand what they're doing. Dawson said he tunes in just for the damage control segments. Yes, and what I keep lamenting about was,
I still love Bailey.
I was like, true. If you gave damage control a fraction of what you gave the bloodline, because that's been the biggest women's story for a while, like they could do so much with it. There would be so much. And Dawson said, I once saw EO put down a racist heckler and she's a perfectly good speaker. Yeah. And yes, I've seen it and that was fantastic. They don't let, they don't really let her talk other than a few words. And they kind of let Bailey be the mouthpiece. And then now it's Dakota. And then 2 weeks ago, they did the promo like they've been doing with Shinsuke. Cause with Shinsuke, he was doing these promos on Cody and they were putting, subtitles, yes. I couldn't decide if I was going to say captions or subtitles. And they put, so they did it for the women. So I'm like, see, problem solved. Like, you could do this. It will, yeah, Benkin. That NXT clip aged well, yes. Oh, that's an interesting theory. That if AEW signed Shelton Benjamin, they could form a ruthless posse stable with Jay Lethal and Keith Lee. When Keith Lee, it sounds like Keith Lee is going to be out for a while, though. Sounds like he injured both legs, and I think he had surgery on both of them. So I think he will be out. But that is a very interesting point, and I would not hate seeing. I would love to see Shelton in New Japan as far as like the wrestling style, because I missed him in New Japan, and I heard that he was phenomenal over there.
I bet he was.
So I would love to see him do BOSJ too. Put them both in BOSJ and then let him come to AEW.
I really love him.
I love one of my favorites. He rules. Mercedes will give many classic matches. I hope so. I really hope so, because she deserves it and she's incredible. So, but yes. So I think we're caught up on everything. But yes, we will be talking more about the collective because I will be watching it and it does look awesome. Somebody said that the collective looked awesome and it does. Oh, and also Nikki also, she said she hates it, but she's so thankful to hear Kevin Owens roast Logan.
There you go.
Yeah, Kevin Owens is not, he hides it as
silver linings.
He hides it as character, but I think he really just says what he thinks. And just is like, oh, that's my character, but it's really, no, I hate him. Just like he hates, because that time he roasted JD McDonough, or however you say his name, the former Jordan Devlin, who was a piece of shit. And Kevin said some things about him, and I think he really meant it with his whole chest. So when he says the things he says to Logan Paul, he can get away with it because it's his character, but I really think he just does not like him as a person.
I mean,
which is
I get it. I mean, I get it a little bit because Logan Paul's not a wrestler. He's not originally a wrestler.
Logan Paul is also a horrible human being. Like, he's
a social media influencer. I was saying to Bob this morning, if it weren't for the fact that social media existed, that guy would be nothing. He'd be out there doing
Logan. I still am convinced that Logan Paul came to WWE as a PR experiment to get his reputation back on track after the Japan thing, the Japanese forest thing. And if you don't know what that is, go Google Logan Paul Japanese forest. No, I'm just saying, if you're not aware, this is why I can't stand him. I mean, there are various reasons, but he and his brother are absolute trash. They're horrible people, and I can't stand that they are using that Logan Paul is using WWE to rehabilitate his shittiness. And also want to point out the fact
it is the perfect place when you think about it.
True. you are not wrong. You are not wrong at all.
One toilet to the other. I don't know.
I had forgotten that when that whole stuff came out with Logan Paul, The Rock's person reached out and said, please remove anything involving The Rock from your social media. Like there were pictures of them and he was told to delete them all. And so now they are in the same company. And one night The Rock was on there a couple of weeks ago and Logan Paul was like, they were advertising him for the following week. Then they had Logan Paul open the show and The Rock didn't come out until the end. Last week, The Rock opened the show and then Logan was a little bit later in the show. So it could be nothing, but I'm curious if The Rock is making sure that he is not near Logan Paul, like that they are keeping their segments separated, that there's still some things with that, because I had forgotten about it until a friend sent me the article and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. The Rock was like, I don't want anything to do with you, and understandably so. So yes. Nikki said that Logan said Kevin stinks, and without missing a beat, Kevin said he bathed in Prime. Yes, thank you, Venkin. He said, if you want to know why people dislike Logan Paul, just look at Logan Paul Japan. Yes, and you can look at this. His brother Jake is terrible too, and has done some he's been accused of some very bad things. And this man's about to wrestle. I mean, not wrestle. He's having an MMA fight with Mike Tyson, which there's that whole they're boxing, whatever. Yeah, not MMA.
They're having a freak. They're having a freak show that people will find.
Yeah, it's something on Netflix. Free. And you can, and then you can say a whole lot of things for Mike Tyson as well, and some of the things that he has done, and his own career rehabilitation, like being in The Hangover. And being in AEW twice. Yeah. So
wrestling.
Yes, wrestling. Benny says Kevin is that dude. He is. I actually almost wore my Kevin Steen shirt today because it is also green, but I was like, I'll go with a Kyle O'Reilly, but I love that guy. That I will say, when I was not watching WWE on a regular basis, he's one of the people I miss the most, was watching Kevin Owens, because I think he's a phenomenal wrestler. He's amazing on the microphone. I love when he's on commentary, and I just love that dude. And so that's been one of the few bright spots since watching regularly. I was like, I have to endure Logan Paul generally to get Kevin Owens, but I will sit through it if I have to, so I can watch Kevin Owens. So at least there's that. And they've been teasing a new tag team for Cedric. They've done 2 little vignettes, and I just, whatever gets Cedric back on my TV, I will take it. So I am trying to find the positives in those 4 hours that I have every week.
It's rough, but you get through it. And when you're done, it makes you a stronger wrestling fan. That's what I'll take. That's what I took from last year. It made me a stronger wrestling fan.
Yes. Yeah, that's the one thing about Rampage Fall and SmackDown, is I'm generally writing something about WWE, so I can't focus on Rampage as much. So but then I can look at it and be like, I can at least look up here and there. I'm like, thank God I'm not watching. You're WWE.
Like, there's an alternative. There's an alternative. There's an alternative.
Exactly. But yeah, so I believe that we have, like we said, we've covered everything, added some extra stuff in for you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today, whether you were here right when we started or came in later. We appreciate it. Thanks for being involved in the chat, and we'll be here next week. And then also, of course, Mel mentioned it before, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for Fight Game Media, because there is lots of live stuff every Wednesday. After Dynamite is the Dynamite show. On Thursdays at 5:30 Eastern time is Speaking of Strong Style, and they get you covered with all things New Japan. And so if you are not watching the New Japan Cup, they will catch you up and tell you.
That's it. That's what I need to do. That's why I missed it last week. I need that. I was shoot, I should be tuning in. They'll tell me.
Yeah,
they'll tell me what to. Jeremy and Steven will tell me what to watch.
Yes. And then what else? Oh, and then also wherever you listen to podcasts, you can also find more stuff from the Fight Game Media. If you are a WWE fan, there's the wrap that comes
and
out.
They are
week.
WWE fans, and they're awesome, and
yes,
they talk about this stuff.
Yes,
and they give you an unbiased WWE.
I was just
fan.
about to say they are not all rainbows and sunshine when it comes to WWE. They will tell you. They will tell you like
they're WWE fans. They are fans
right,
of
they
the
are,
product. So they are being like, just like we like to be critical of our product, they like to be critical of theirs.
Yeah,
and so
they're
they're
great.
awesome. I like listening to Keela and Scott because they're fun.
And then and we've had Keela been on here several times as an honorary broad. We love her
very
here.
honorary broad.
And then there's also the Boom is on hiatus currently. And then
the Clinch is also on hiatus for a minute. So
right. But there's some really good stuff out there. It's
Popcorn and Pile Drivers is fun.
I have not got to check that out yet, but
Garrett and some friends reviewing wrestling movies.
Yeah, I know they did. I need to go back and listen to the Ready to Rumble one because I love that movie as it is. And then when I was at Revolution, there were two people who were dressed as the Law and what is it, Sugar Daddy, I think, were their wrestling names. And so they were Nikki and I saw them right when we walked in. We were getting ready to go, that we were on our way to the bathroom. I was like, God, I should have stopped them and taken a picture. But then luckily later in the show, they walked down the steps right next to our section and I got a couple of pictures of them. And it was great. So yeah, I definitely need to check that out. But yeah, so there's all kinds of good content. Occasionally, I think Garrett still goes live with his stuff.
Broken news and stuff. We do post shows for a lot of the pay-per-views that are coming up, so you'll probably see a lot more. I mean, Mania weekend is always big time here at the Game Media. We always do all kinds of shows.
Yes.
So all surrounding all the different things going on, not just Mania, but everything around it. So
yes. Yeah, we'll be doing, and then of course we'll be here for our pre-show of I guess Dynasty. We'll be doing a pre-show for that. Yeah. For Mania, we won't be doing the pre-show. It'll probably be the wrap. I think they do. I don't remember. Do they do pre and post, or
they might do? I think they do pre and post.
Yeah. So
I think they do a preview show and they do a post game show. Is usually what they do.
So. So there's going to be a lot there. Figuring out how I'm going to watch the More Than Mania stuff and figure that out. But Mel always keeps track of the number of matches I watch and the hours. And so now I gotta tell you how many shows are on SmackDown.
Cheaper.
Which is interesting because sometimes
we're gonna have to add in your WWE hours this time.
I don't remember how many matches. I think there were 3. Last week there was 2 hours of wrestling and there were three wrestling matches. That's it.
Whoa.
3 matches in a 2-hour period. So there may not be that many more matches to add for
for
my Mania. It might just be Daza, is this directed at RJ City? He said Joan Collins and Linda Evans should do a match on the Dynasty pay-per-view. That's one for us oldies. And then the RJ City has to call that match. There's nobody else that can cover it but him. Maybe they can finally bring in Wendy Richter.
Oh, there you go.
So that Tony can fuck her up, as she says.
Apparently. That's what she promised us.
That's what she said. She said, I will fuck you up. And then she said she will fuck up anybody else. Oh, thanks, Benny. He said, thank you both. I don't usually comment, but y'all inspire me on ROH. or inspire me, rock on. Thank you. Well, we enjoy having you in the comments, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All of you guys that have been hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Daza asked, did RJ do that gag already? He does the TMC thing he's done. If you follow RJ City, he is very into, especially his Twitter, he's very into very old things, like things even older than that Dynasty reference. He's into, that's just right up his alley. So having him do the Tony Storm stuff in the beginning was right up RJ City's alley. It worked very well. And then they did the TMC stuff it was TMC. They had some stuff with him and the host Ben.
Oh, Ben Mankiewicz from Turner Classic Movies.
Yes, there was something again that they did the other night, and he keeps trying and RJ keeps trying to get him to come on to AEW, and he won't do it. He told him AEW was a stupid name. He was like, it's not clever.
Ben Mankiewicz is like the son or grandson of the guy that like was Robert Kennedy's like closest advisor or something like. I mean,
wow.
he's like he has a long history. Like, I don't think that the Mankiewicz family would be the types to come around. It doesn't. I used to watch him on a show. It doesn't. I don't see him being willing to do that. I would love to see him do it because it would take him completely out of his comfort zone. But I just don't. I don't know. I don't see it.
The bit that he did with RJ the other night was really funny. They're like, you can see like. You can see like where because he kind of is like, what is this? But I think I can only imagine when he first got involved, when they brought him in for the Timeless Tony Storm. I'm sure he was probably like, what the hell is this? He's probably like, you have to pay me really well to make me come do this.
It was actually kind of hilarious because one of the things I saw on Twitter was he's like, well, one thing's for sure. Everybody are old movie fans. And I was like, all right, fair enough, because he was getting so much feedback from wrestling fans that were so excited to see him, and he was just like, I don't know. He's like, well, proves that everybody is an old classic movie fan. And I was like, there you go.
Exactly. Who knew? Well, obviously, we have to tell you that wrestling fans like ran out. What was it, Showbuzz, where they went and before they closed, like before they shuttered down, they gave a special shout to wrestling trolls.
Toxic wrestling community on the socials. Yes, I can understand.
So I was like, good work.
Great, guys.
All
Thanks.
All right, we're leaving out of here
and let you guys have the rest of your Sunday, and we will have ours.
Yes, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
Bye.